Warmly welcome for the mock paper discussion, CL1 Advanced Audit and Assurance, July 2022. So with very energetic mind, even though being time is 6:30 p.m. now, so you may be tired at the moment with the works and all, but very energetic mind, we'll start the session and we will continue till we finish this examination paper. So first of all, we should appreciate and thank Sri Lanka Education Division for organizing this mock examination series for the benefit of all the students who are going to face the exam in July 2022. So the early preparation for the examination under the examination environment is very much important to face the real exam. So that will help you in many aspects. So therefore, this is a very great initiative that the Sri Lanka has done. So making use of that facility, I must first appreciate your effort and your courage to face to the mock exam even one and a half months before the real exam. First of all, be happy that you had a courage and you had a strong mind, or you really want to get through the exam and become a qualified chartered accountant, so that you had trust and you face the exam. And some of the students are here without doing the exam, even at least you have come to the paper discussion. That itself, it is another achievement, because you have another 1 month plus another 2 weeks, around 1 to 2 weeks time, almost 1.5 month time is there from today if you look at 24th July 2022. So therefore, I request all the students to concentrate with me for this during this maybe 3 hours or 3.5 hours continuously, because this examination paper, the mock exam paper, is purely a practical cases. There are new practical cases, or there are contemporary practical cases in audit and assurance, which we faced in day-to-day auditing environment. So which will be, those questions will be really helpful you to think and open your eyes and open your thinking toward the practical auditing, not only limiting to the theoretical studies that you currently do. So therefore, I'm requesting again all the students to concentrate with me for 3.5 hours. And there are a lot of practical cases for us to discuss in addition to the normal theory. Also, I'm going to link into the question that we are going to do today. Right, let me share the examination paper. So initially, if you look at this examination paper, it's my overall view is, would say this paper is not that difficult like the previous mock examination we held in November 2021. Yes. But this is, I won't say this is easy, but this is not that difficult, but this is a moderate or average paper. But if you have not practiced enough and more questions in terms of practically applying the theory into the scenarios, so this paper is going to be difficult for you, right? So that's the overall comment of the paper. And also, I just want to pass few messages to you at the beginning. So now let's say you are going to face the exam on 24th July. So that means next month, end of next month. So you have enough time. So those, whatever the weakness that we discussed today, you can correct before the final examination. And your way of thinking, the way of approaching, way of analyzing, way of writing, all these aspects need to be corrected. So in doing that, so one of the most important thing is when you get into the examination paper at the real exam, so you need to have a peaceful mind. That is one of the important factor for any exam, but it is one more important for auditing paper, because all that you are applying the theory into the practical cases, the peaceful mind is needed, right? So think that you are going to somehow face this exam and going to get through the exam, your mind is peaceful, and at that exam time and 3 hours managing skills you have to apply. So I'm going to tell you that certain the examination managing skills that you need to have to cover the entire paper for 100 marks within the given 3 hours time, right? So as you are aware, the CL1 examination paper, this is your final advanced final auditing paper in the CA journey. So therefore, the practical application of the advanced auditing principles will be tested, but don't get scared, because most of the answers for the auditing questions are within the question itself. That's the confidence that you are to keep. answer for the question is within the question, answer for the question also in the question itself. So therefore, it's a matter of picking the answer and organizing and writing in the answer script. That is the most, the weak area of most of our students. And the second thing is, now, when you look at the syllabus, this is purely a advanced auditing flow, which audit firm practice. So then you need to have a good flow, the knowledge on the floor of auditing. That is important. Sometimes you are trained to do the selective studies. Selective studies can be done for a certain level, but so you need to have an overall understanding of the syllabus, overall understanding of the role of the external auditor. So that is one of the fundamental that you need to have when you are facing for the auditing paper. So therefore 1.5 month time is there. So if you don't have the floor of auditing, please get that understanding, right? So let's start the discussion now. And I'm expecting a concentration for the 3 hours and without any disruption. Right, basically your exam paper is 3 hours paper and it will contain about the 3 sections, basically 10 MCQ question and 4 short scenario question into the 4 into 10 marks and the 2 long case scenarios question. So what is most important is that you always need to remember, so time management is going to be one of the significant aspects of your exam paper. So if you look at it historically from the examination past papers of CL1 from December 2020, the new syllabus. So we had whatever the examinations we had, the MCQ questions are a little bit difficult. This is not easy, but there are a lot you need more time. But when you look at the short scenario questions, those are short scenarios, you can apply the theory with very short period of time. And if you look at the long case scenarios, question number 7 is a bit of easy, but question number 6 is generally a difficult question because that is mostly the risk assessment related areas. So therefore that understanding you need to have, and also you need to now plan, and you need to plan at the exam. What are you going to do first? So you are given a 15 minutes time. So what you will do is you will take the exam paper and then thereafter you just turn the pages and see what type of exam. Don't try to read the MCQ questions and then come to the short scenario question. Just have a look at the required section, what it is, and just have a look on within 2 minutes of the entire paper. So thereafter, so you should have now an understanding on where to start. So I recommend all of you not to start with the MCQ question. It takes some time. So therefore you can select one of the short scenario question out of 4 questions and write within the stipulated time. The time in the sense, now you have to in the paper itself, I recommend you to put the timing. Let's say I'm going to do the question number 2. So now let's say exam is at 9 a.m. So this 10 mark question, so my time allocation will be 10 into, if you exactly allocate 1.8. So that means 18 minutes you have, right? But don't take 18 minutes. So you always take multiply 1.5. So that means you have 15 minutes, right? So, you know, now this question, you can allocate only 15 minutes. Time management is so important. And you are not going to write more and more stories. You are going to write answers in a short forms. So you have to tell that, you have to tell not the 15 minutes. You have to put the 9:15 here. At what time you are going to finish the question? Then you are under pressure when you are reading, when you are getting the examination paper, you are under pressure to complete somehow within that stipulated time. And then let's say you are going to do the question number 3 again, next. Then it has to be not the 15 minutes, it has to be 9:30. You are going to finish this. Let's say you are going to do the next large case scenario, question number 7. So then it's not the 15 minutes, it's about the 30 minutes. So you can put that 30 minutes mean question number 7, you have to complete by 10 a.m. in the morning. So you are under pressure now. You are under pressure that you have to manage the time. So this is how you have to manage yourself when you are writing the examination question. And also I'm strictly advising you all. So you have to write a 3-hour paper before you go for the exam. Because sometimes you may write on one examination question by question by keeping the time. But this is the 3 hours, managing 3 hours. Some questions are taking little longer time. some questions are taking little lesser time. So you have to plus and minus, you have to make and manage within 3 hours. So therefore, just because of writing the one by one question, just keeping the time, that doesn't mean that you have practiced the examination environment question. Examination environment, you have attended to the question under the examination pressure. So therefore, if you have not done a 3-hour paper, so the time is there for another 1.5 months. I'm requesting all the students to write one examination paper, keeping the 3 hours time without any disturbance, right? So, okay, now I'll start with the MCQ question, even though you are not going to write at the exam, MCQ questions. So now we are going to start with the MCQ question. Now remember that even my previous mock exam, if you see in CA Online Academy, you can see that mock exam discussions. So I have very clearly highlighted for students. So you need to understand the most difficult type of examination question mode in this world is the MCQ question. That has to be remembered. And number 2, whoever attending the MCQ question need to understand that even if you know the theory 100%, it is the matter of how you are going to apply your knowledge from the given scenario. So even if you know 100%, if you don't have a practice of how to apply, then end of the day your answer will go wrong. And also examiner will give you 1 or 2 informations, or 1 or 2 information is hidden. And within a 1 word, your answer can be diverted. So therefore, I have already given in a previously the 2 guidelines or 2 golden rules in attending any examination paper. 2 golden rules. And number 1, you always need to apply the elimination theory. So what is meant by elimination theory? Elimination theory means, so you cannot identify the correct answer here. It's very difficult. You have to identify the wrong answers and eliminate. Definitely 2 answers are wrong. But then balance 2 answers out of 2 most appropriate answer you have to select because both are correct answers. Right? And also the second golden rule is that so immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer. Remember these 2. One is elimination theory. The wrong answer should be eliminated. The second one, the immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer because examiner is set the exam question. So immediately something comes to your mind. That's how that the answer examiner also gets. But the examiner diverts that mind into a different direction using another 1 or 2 wording. That is the art of MCQ question that you need to understand. So if you get into that art of MCQ question, 10 out of 10 questions, that means 20 out of 20 marks, you will be able to get it. Right? So those are the basic instructions. So let's start with the question number 1. The question number 1, we'll read it out. So there has been a significant price reduction for the products of ABC Limited. So take the highlighter in your hand. When you are going to the auditing paper, you have to have a highlighter. If it is a physical exam, because certain information you have to highlight and then only it goes to your mind. So take the highlighter with me and do with me now. You might have done this paper, but do again with me. There has been a significant price reduction for the products of ABC Limited. Company name should be highlighted because the company name will give you, the private limited or PSA will give you a significant difference in advance auditing. The company, due to the availability of substitutes, as at 31st March 2022, the next important information in any auditing examination question, the financial year. The financial year must be highlighted because that has to be saved in your mind when you are attending any question. That this is the financial year is 31st March 2022. That should work in your mind. The finished good value recorded was 233 million, which is material to the finance statement of the company. The external auditor designed the following audit procedure. So we are in the auditing of ABC Private Limited for the year ended 31st March 2022. And there is a 233 million inventory balance. And the auditor has designed the following audit procedure to be done at the audit planning level. Select a sample of finished good item and note of the amount that will be received up to the sale of each item. Deducted of the cost of entity has to incur the selling those products. This price was compared with the cost of the respective items. What is the assertion? What is the assertion? The auditor expect to address through the above audit procedure. What is the assertion that you are going to, what is the assertion that you are going to address through the above audit procedure. Now, this is what auditing, right? 1.5 months is there. That is why I'm not telling now. Now, auditing in chapter number 7 of the study text, you have learned the audit evidence. While you are learning the audit evidence, you might have learned the assertions. There are 2 types of assertions which comes into the class of transactions and which comes into the account balances and the disclosure. So you can memorize everything, but even if you memorized, that doesn't mean that you can write this one. To write this exam, this question, you need to memorize that the assertion, yes, that may be useful, may not be useful. But what is important is to read the question carefully again, because answer is here itself. You don't have to think of. We'll read again the audit procedure. Select a sample of finished good items. That's how you have to read. Huh? You have to read sentence by sentence. First time you won't get. Read sentence by sentence. Select a sample of finished good items and note the amount that will be received upon. Select a sample of finished good items and note the amount that will be received upon for sale of each item. Deducted the cost entity has to incur in selling those products. This price was compared with the cost of the respective item. Look at this. Examiner is so intelligent. So examiner is how, this word is not, maybe not be appropriate. So this examiner is so cunning into the giving the fact in a different route. Now, like is you are going to goal, you can go in highway. I used to tell this example, and you can go normal road, you can go light, you can go on shift, or you can go in a walking also to goal. Right? But finally, you are going to goal only. So like that. So this is simply the wording has been added here and there to confuse you. What it says. That is why the careful reading is needed. So what's happening here? Actually, what they are telling is, right, what they are telling is this now cost is there of the company, and the subsequent selling price you are going now, let's say one item called A is 100 is cost, and you are going to check by 31st March, this particular stock is there, and you are going to check the selling price of this particular product. Why you want to check the subsequent selling price? Why? What is the purpose? Because there is a fundamental role in LKs to inventories, cost or NRA, whichever is lower. For what purpose? Cost or NRA, whichever is lower. Why you want to check that? Cost or NRA, whichever is lower, to see whether inventory has been correctly valued. Now, you don't have to look at this answer. You logically develop the answer. You can develop logically by thinking in the general knowledge that you have. So what is the answer? You do not look at this. Obviously, you can't calculate accuracy from the subsequent selling price. Occurrence is not applicable for occurrence is not applicable for inventory, because inventory is an account balance. Inventory is not a transaction. If it is a transaction, only occurrence will come. That theory that you learned is working now. And the occurrence, and then this answer is wrong. Valuation accuracy is correct. Valuation also correct. Now, I told you the elimination theory, 2 are wrong, 2 correct. Now, out of 2, immediate answer, valuation and accuracy. Sometimes immediate answer may not be correct. You have to go for the careful understanding now. So now, whether I'm going to select valuation and accuracy or valuation, whether by checking the subsequent selling price, can I ensure the accuracy? No, you are not possible to do that. In a certain level you can do, but not everything. So therefore, answer is very clear. Answer is a valuation assertion is ensured through this procedure. This is coming under the section C of your syllabus, audit evidence under the inventory practical application of audit procedures, right? When you look at the study text, you will have the assertion, you will have audit procedures, but this is how that theory has been applied into the practical circumstances, right? So we'll read the second question. The following is an extract of an article, the IASB The IASB defines the data analytics, interesting topic, for the audit as the science and art of discovering and analyzing patterns, deviation and inconsistencies, and extracting other useful information in the data underlying or related to the subject matter of an audit through analysis, modeling, and visualization for the purpose of planning and performing the audit. So data analytics is coming from which chapter? It's coming from the auditing in a digital environment, 10% of your syllabus. Chapter number 15, coming from the digitalization, one of the interesting and easiest area you can easily score for 10 marks, more than 10, sometimes 12 marks. Select the correct statement. The use of data analytics is limited to identifying. Trends and analysis, and it cannot be effectively used for testing of control. Example, three-way matching. The technology could help immensely in obtaining audit evidence. However, there is a risk of an auditor becoming overconfident on the technology. Testing segregation of duties is one of the areas that could not be replaced by data analytics. Last one. Audit data analytics will be useful in completely replace the auditor's judgment and professional skepticism when performing an audit. Chapter number 15, big data analysis, section 2 of the chapter. So the asking is, this definition is given from the data analytics. So what is the correct statement? There can be so many correct statements. So out of that, what is the best correct statement that we have to select? Okay, we'll go by my elimination theory. We'll go on down. Audit data analytics. Now I'm telling for the students, whenever you are reading the question, read slowly, because you know the language also, some of you are weak in the language as well. So therefore read carefully, taking the pen like this and put in the mark. That will really helpful. Audit data analytics will be useful in completely replacing the auditor's judgment and professional skepticism when performing the audit. No, never. Audit data analytics will never be able to replace the auditor's judgment. Material judgment cannot be replaced. Impairment judgment cannot be replaced. Sample testing cannot be replaced. So therefore, professional skepticism cannot be replaced. It's not possible. Testing segregation of duties is one of the areas that could not be replaced by data analytics. Testing segregation of duties, can this be done for the data analytics? Yeah, it can be done. Let's say one person has to raise the payment voucher. Another person has to approve the payment voucher. Whether this has been done or not, we can check through data analytics. You run a report and analyze and see and give the rule accordingly and see that it can be done. Right. So therefore, this is also wrong. The technology could help immensely in obtaining the audit evidence. Yes. However, there is a risk of an auditor becoming overconfident in the technology. Auditor should not be overconfident in the technology. Yes. And also technology will help. That also correct. We'll go to the first one and see now elimination theory. The use of data analytics is limited to identifying trends. Right. The use of data analytics is limited to identifying trends and analysis, and it cannot be effectively used for testing of controls. This is wrong, because testing of controls, sometimes it can be done through the data analytics. For example, now three-way matching, the verifying the three documents, the invoices, GRN and PU, three-way matching which you learned. So that can be done through the data analytics. Actually, data analytics can do so many things. But what the software cannot do is that judgmental areas and skepticism areas, those are not possible. So therefore, this is also can be. So therefore, this is the correct answer will be answer B. So this is the correct answer from the digital auditing. Then we come to the question number 3. Again, from the Code of Ethics, chapter number 19. You are an audit manager for a reputed audit firm. Remember, you are CL1 level, you are an audit manager. You are engaged with the audit of Country Hills PLC, audited company is a PLC, for a period of 5 years. The client has offered you an employment opportunity, very practical scenario, as the financial accountant. And you seek independence clearance from your audit firm. Identify threats to the independence arising from the above described employment opportunity. So what's happened here? So this is a very common thing happen in an audit firm. When you work in an audit firm, when you do a client works, when you go for the client places, they are really happy and they are easy and they are more comfortable in getting you for the company because you know the company system and you know the problems of the company and they also know about you. So this is a very, and I would say around 30–40% of the audit firm, this happens. Now the thing is, he is not just an audit associate, but he is an audit manager of reputed audit firm and you were engaged with the audit of Country Hill PLC for a period of 5 years. The client has offered you an employment opportunity as the financial accountant and you seek independence clearance. Now you want to, the firm should give the clearance for that. So now what is the threat? You know, there are 5 threats which you have learned in a code of ethics: self-interest, self-review, familiarity, advocacy, intimidation. Being a chartered accountant one day, you or being a chartered accountant me today. So we all have to face into this threat when we are dealing our professional matters in the practicing or non-practicing sector. So now on this situation, what the immediate threat that could come in the employment opportunity? If you take up this employment opportunity, remember this. So this is not offered, let's say, during the audit. That such information is not there. Please be careful. It says that you are audit manager of a reputed audit firm. You were engaged with the audit of Country Hill PLC for a period of 5 years. The client has offered you an employment opportunity. We don't know why the audit is doing. It's not very clear. So therefore, if it is not specific information given, in auditing, you cannot go on a hypothetical assumption. So now if you see, if you undertake this, what the threat is going to come. Identify the threats to the independent arising from the above described employment opportunity. So obviously, self-review is coming. Will it come? No, why? You are going to the client place, not the client place person coming here. So they have a self-review won't come. And familiarity, yes, familiarity is coming because you are familiar with the audit team. And intimidation threat, by again meme, intimidation threat. And familiarity threat and intimidation threat. Now we have to make a decision. Obviously, familiarity will come. So therefore, answer B or answer D should be one of the correct answer. But now you have to decide whether intimidation can come. Obviously, intimidation can come because you are a 5 years manager at the audit firm and you go for the client place and you know the people who are coming to the audit firm in the next year. So he can intimidate and he can push. This is how the audit should be conducted. I have enough experience. So there is intimidation threat part involved in this situation. So its answer will be not only intimidation. So answer will be familiarity threat and intimidation threat will be the correct answer. Correct answer. Right. Now, actually, the examiner is good. In this examiner is very good to you. So he has not given the self-interest. If it had been given a self-interest, you could have got confused and you would have put that. Because it's not that future opportunity while you carry out the audit. So to avoid the confusion, only examiner has taken out of the self-interest, I believe. So therefore, this question is easy. If you had the self-interest, the question could have been very much difficult. Right, then we'll come to the 1.4 again, from the Code of Ethics chapter section, last one before the last section of your 15% of your syllabus. Suren Pereira is the audit partner of a Blue Ocean Private Limited. Blue Ocean Private Limited. So this is a Blue Ocean Private Limited. An audit client is the hospitality sector. So he and his family is given a special offer to spend a weekend in the hotel premises. This could happen practically. The offer is on full board, everything free, basis and provided with the lux suit. What should be Suren Pereira's response? Suren Pereira is the audit partner response to the offer made by his audit client. Can I take this? Now let's say I'm good example is if it is applicable for me, I'm a partner of an audit firm. So now if one of my client offers me, okay, after you complete the audit, let's say Cinnamon, and you can go for one of the Cinnamon hotel for a 1 week or a weekend with your family, and everything is free. Can I take that? It's all code of ethics. You can justify several reasons and accept. Now, for you also, there are a lot of students who apply the exam, but they don't face to the exam. Like mock exam, you have applied for the mock exam, but you have not faced to the mock exam. Why? If you ask, you have thousands of valid reasons. You have thousands of valid excuses for not doing the exam. So you can justify by your mind in favor of you, but that is only favor of you, finally only to you. Similarly, if the audit partner wants to take it, he can justify giving a several justification from the code of ethics. But if you really see the theory of the code of ethics, which are issued by C.H. Sri Lanka, it's very clear, 2020, the code of ethics book, you are aware. So if you are a student who have learned the reason, not learned the code of ethics of 2020 booklet, because that was applicable for your exam only from the last exam. Earlier, it was the earlier book, 2016 one. The student who have not learned the new book, so you have to quickly have a look on the differences between what you have learned under the previous book and new book. Because the new one will be tested in your this examination, that you have to be alert. So one of the change I would say is that in a PLC audit, the rotation, partner rotation, those years have been changed now. Cooling off period, earlier it was 2 years, now 5 years. Likewise, there are changes. This message is for the student who are repeating the examination. You have to be conscious. There are changes to the code of ethics which were applicable from the last examination in CA, that was applicable from October 2021. But majority of the student may not be aware of this change, but that is applicable for your exam of CL1. Now, this one, if you look at, accept the offer and it will be strengthen the client relationship. You accept? No, you can't take it. Shall not accept this. This is a special offer as it will result in self-interest or familiarity threat to objectivity. Let's say your entire audit team, after audit is over, they call for a lunch in the hotel. It's a hotel audit, hospitality sector. Can you go or not? Can anyone answer? Can you go or not? Entire audit team members are called for a lunch at the hotel. Can you go for that lunch or not? Anybody can answer in the chat box? Yes, can go. Can go anywhere you will go. But here is a special offer and it's only for audit partner. We don't know the purpose behind it. So therefore shall not accept. So this will be one of the correct answer. Shall not accept. This is a special offer as it will result in a self-interest or familiarity. Accept the gift. Accept the offer and keep the firm senior partner informed. No. Accept the offer after consulting the firm senior partner and the partners responsible for the independent. No, that's what I told you. So you can justify yourself. You can justify yourself and take the offer, but that is not correct. So the answer B is the correct answer. Right. I'm coming to the 1.5. You are the senior in charge of the audit of Diamond Primate PLC. This is a PLC. For the year ended 31st March 2022, financial year is important. This is the first year of audit of your firm. You decide to request confirmation from the debtors to get confirmed balances as of 31st March 2022. The debtors confirmations are being pulled by you. Identify what is the most appropriate statement out of the following. Most appropriate. So you have to be alert that it's requiring, it's asking the most appropriate statement. Right? There can be one or two answers which are almost appropriate, but this is most appropriate. There can be certain meals item or a food item which you like. You like so many. But there can be meals which you which is your favorite, and that can be there. So therefore, that type of answer, that doesn't mean that you don't like for the meals. That type of scenarios are there in the exam question. You have to be careful, right? So now A, So most appropriate statement out of the following. If confirmations from debtors are obtained, other formal audit tests could be replaced with the audit, and the audit will improve the audit efficiency. If confirmation from debtors are obtained, other normal audit tests could be replaced. We don't have to do other thing. Is that correct? I doubt. The client mandate is important, and if client refuses performing of alternative audit procedures will be sufficient. We go and ask from the client, can I send the confirmation request letter? No, you can't send it. You can't send it because we have a dispute with the don't send. Okay, we will do something else, and we will try to do something else. Are you an auditor? No, you are not an auditor. So therefore, the client mandate is that we are not auditors to listen to the clients and do according to the audit what client wants. Client cannot teach how the audit to be conducted by us. When you go for an audit, if you are audit trainee, if you are going for an audit, sometimes CFOs are auditing to you. But you are representing a reputed audit firm and you are representing a methodology. You are not going to learn the auditing from the CFO. Client cannot teach auditing to you. So you are an auditor who is independent from the client. And you have been appointed by the shareholder. You have not been appointed by the management to carry out the audit according to the instruction given by the management. So therefore, that is not right. Now, prima facie, this is a reliable audit evidence being an independent and documentary form. Yes, this is a reliable audit evidence. Why? Because this is an external evidence than the internal evidences, what we learn in audit evidence. And being an independent and in a documentary form, yes, the documentary evidences are much more reliable than the verbal evidences. So therefore, this is a bit of a correct answer. The only objective testing that will satisfy from trade receivable confirmations is the existence of the customer. Are you going to satisfy only the existence from the trade data confirmation? No. If you go to the trade receivable revenue and trade receivables of chapter of your study text, it's very clearly told and it's very clearly given by calling a confirmation. Number one assertion that you are going to cover is existence. That doesn't mean that only existence is covered. There are several other assertions which you are going to cover through this one, maybe completeness. Also, you are going to cover. So therefore, this answer also wrong. Now we know this retain with the one answer, that is in prima facie, this is a reliable audit evidence being an independent and documentary form. So that is the correct answer. Meantime, if you have any question while the discussion is going through, you can put it to the chat box. And also, I will be answering all your questions at the end of the session. Will definitely answer. And in between, if I feel that that question is important, what we have raised will be taken up during the discussion itself. You can ask any theory, any practical, any question related to this paper or related to any auditing matters or related to CL1, anything related to auditing. So this forum you can ask. I will be answering all your questions. Right, then we go to the question number 146. The auditors of Silver Gems Private Limited. Silver Gems Private Limited plan to use the data analytic tool, again the digital auditing, to identify the trends, different analysis to support the journal entry testing. This involves obtaining journal entries data dumped from the client system and using data analytic tools to perform the required analysis. We call in a practical auditing JE testing. So JE testing means the companies are passing a lot of journal entries for various purposes. If you can remember your advanced level, if you have done the advanced level, you should have, right? So advanced level you should have done. Otherwise, you can't do you can't be here. So if you have learned the basic accounting principles, journal entries are passed by the companies in a basic accounting or a double entry system. That is accounting issue. For various matters, maybe transfers, maybe adjustments, or maybe different corrections, error corrections. So there can be a lot. But this journal entry can be done by management genuinely to do something. The 5 purposes which are stipulated in the basic accounting principles. Meantime, the companies are adjusting the journal entries to manipulate the finance statement as well. If you want to increase the revenue, if you want to decrease the cost, if you want to increase the inventory, if you want to reduce the deferred tax, you will use the journal entries. So if you can remember, there are certain examples: window dressing, teaming, lading. Those are available in the fraud standard or the fraud chapter in your study text. So those, the management to do those things, journal entries will help. Therefore, any auditor, all the auditors generally perform something called journal testing. We practice you call JE testing. So JE testing means you get all the journal entries which were passed during the entire year, which you can't do manually. So you get those data into a data analytics tool, maybe Excel, maybe ACL, or maybe any other data analytics softwares, or even audit softwares. We'll put that, we'll analyze and see whether there are any abnormal or unusual journal entries which have been passed by the company. Maybe certain entries at the year end, certain entries at the month end. There is a particular day that those entries are going. So the auditor used the professional skepticism in identifying the journal entries accordingly. That is what the question is all about. Since the auditor used the data analytics tool for journal entry testing purpose, the auditor is going to use the journal entry testing for data analytics for journal entry testing. The auditor will be directed the risk criteria that need to be applied in testing the journal entries, and it will improve the efficiencies. Will be directed the risk criteria that need to be applied in testing the journal entries and will improve the efficiencies. Not clear. Does not need to understand the control, the process in place on creating the posting the journal entries. Not clear. Does not need to worry about the accuracy and completeness of the data dump as it used the data analytics tool. No, this is wrong. Why? Data analytics, what they do is they just analyze the data and give. But they don't, the software, or they don't bother about the accuracy of data, completeness of data. If you put the wrong data, wrong output will come. That responsibility cannot be taken by the software. This is wrong. And also will be able to avoid journal entry testing as the trend analysis would be sufficient to obtain desired level evidence on the journal entries. Now see, journal entry testing means you are getting all the journal entries which are passed during the year and you analyze that according to your requirement. And then you identify those things and you go and perform the further testing. You have to do something. This is analysis will give you the certain highlights. The analysis will give you the certain indications. Analysis will give you the certain signals that you need to looking into. That's only the data analytics can be done, right? That only data analysts can do. The data analysts cannot do anything further. So therefore, we'll be able to avoid journal entries. No, this is not possible. Now, does not need to understand the control, the process in place, creating the posting journal entries. No, so you have to understand the process. Who is approving the journal entry? Who is adjusting this? What is the rationale behind that? When they are adjusting? So there should be some controls on JE. Journal voucher should be there. So those controls must be there. So now in those controls, you cannot completely replace with the data analytics software. It's completely wrong. So therefore, obviously, you come with the elimination theory, which I told you. Now, elimination theory works very nicely, right? So the answer will be, this will be directed to the risk criteria that need to be applied in testing journal entries, and it will improve efficiency. The time taken for the audit will come down, and your audit will be directed to look at the risk areas of the audit. Then we come to the 1.7. Olive PLC is an audit client of an associate. Recently, Olive has got into a dispute with the respect to a construction contract as entered with a third party entity, and the legal action have been imitated. Olive has approached SNS to obtain a forensic accounting services. Now, this is a fantastic word, forensic accounting services. Now, this is a wording called these days, all Aragale and everywhere we talk about the forensic auditing. Do audit. All politicians are also standing with the word forensic accounting, forensic auditing. Sri Lanka cricket was subject to forensic audit. And what is this forensic word? The forensic is what? The forensic is a detailed investigation. It is something beyond audit. It is something beyond audit. It's a detailed investigation for a legal perspective to take the legal action. So it's not just a accounting services, not an auditing service. It's a detailed analysis, detailed findings, detailed finding evidences. Finally, destination will be at the court and taking the legal action. Now, if you don't know the forensic meaning, which is discussed under the chapter number 20 of internal audit, you cannot answer this question. Select the correct statement in the terms of objectivity and independence of SNS with the client. Objective and independency. Now, since the dispute is with the third party, SNS will be able to undertake the proposed service and it would not result any independent consideration. So now we are the auditor of Olive PLC. This is a PLC. We are the auditor of that company. While we are carrying out the audit, right? While we are carrying out the audit, in addition to the audit work, we have been asked to carry out the forensic accounting services. In addition to the normal audit only, we have been asked. So when we are undertaking obviously when we are undertaking the two works, one is assurance and another one is an unassurance. So there are threats arising. It may be self-review, that may be familiarity, intimidation, or self-interest, or whatever, or advocacy. Now this question is a bit of a difficult. Since the dispute is the third party, SN will be able to undertake the proposed no. Just because of it is third party, that doesn't mean that contract will be with the third party, but its contract is entered by our client. So therefore, that doesn't mean that it is a third party. Undertaking the proposed service would result a self-review threat to SNS as the auditor, and the auditor should not undertake this service. Yes, that's correct to a certain level. The auditor to have an advocacy role in Sri Lanka Code does not permit when the amounts involved are material to the financial statement of the public client. That also correct. If the audit committee of approves SNS undertaking the service, there will not be threat to the independence. No, there will be a definite threat. You are undertaking the new work to an audit client. Now, you tell me, your answer is B or C. This is a difficult, tricky moment. The tricky question, you tell me. Somebody can, you can put it to chat box. Your answer is B or C. What do you think? Now, this is the problem. This is why sometimes you used to say auditing pass rates are very low. The reason is this, because there are not two answers which are almost similar. If you don't know exactly what is all of exactly of forensic services. Let's say I cut this word, forensic. I cut this word, forensic. Now you tell me what is the answer. If you cut the forensic word, it may be answer B. Because undertaking the proposed service would result in self-review, threat to SNS as the auditor, and should not undertake this service. Because being a PLC, accountant services cannot be provided. Now I add the forensic word. Now read the answer. The auditor to have an advocacy role and Sri Lanka Code does not permit you when the amounts involved are material to the financial statement. That is the correct answer. Why I say that is correct answer? Because this is an arguable point. This I told you, one word will change your answer at the exam. That's how the paper is set in auditing paper. So now, is it forensic mean you go for the legal perspective. You go for appearing in the court. Till that moment you will go. You are acting on behalf of, when you are providing a forensic service, you are acting on behalf of your client. You are advocating on behalf of your client. So there, self-review also there, but more than that, the advocate is coming. and therefore it cannot be provided. Answer B is correct. Answer C is, I would say, mostly appropriate because forensic wording is there. It's a tricky question. Right, I hope that you enjoyed this question. Okay, right, we'll go to the next one quickly. We are passing the time. I'm just taking a little bit of a time for the beginning, but after that I will quickly move on. The auditors of Kelly PLC, this is a PLC again. Again, a PLC, obtain the service of its valuation team in determining the appropriateness of the valuation model and the reasonableness of the assumption used in valuing the investment properties located in a number of areas of the country. The auditor agreed the scope of the deliverables with the valuation team. What it says this. So this company and this Kelly PLC auditor obtained the services. Auditors of Kelly PLC obtained the services of its valuation team. So there is an auditor here and there is a valuation team. An auditor has obtained the service of valuation team, right? Remember, not the company has obtained, auditor has obtained. Because property valuation is not an area where the auditor is aware. So therefore, the auditor is going to use auditor's expert in arriving at the evaluating the assumption, the reasonableness of the valuations and all that, what the management has done. The valuation team is considered to be, you can easily tell this answer. What is the answer? Answer is very clear. Auditor specialist, no, this is auditor's expert, which we talk under the XLA US 200, sorry, XLA US 610, right? So 1.9, Devinda Silva is the engagement leader of Sunshine PLC. So this is a PLC. His spouse has recently established a consultancy firm and Nirma Rodrigo, a director of Sunshine PLC, is one of the partners of his consultancy firm. The business relationship arrangement is assessed to be material to the spouse of Devinda. Devinda has disclosed the relationship to the audit firm where he is one of the partners. Identify what advice will you provide to Devinda Silva on the above matter. What it says, Devinda Silva, there is a one person called Devinda, engagement leader of Sunshine PLC. Sunshine PLC is the engagement partner. His spouse has recently established a consultancy firm. His spouse has started a consultancy firm. And Nirmal Rodrigo is a director of Sunshine. There is another person called Nirmal. He's a director as well as is one of the partners of this consultancy firm. So one of the director of Sunshine PLC is a partner of the wife company of the audit partner of Sunshine PLC. How nice. The business relationship arrangement is assessed to be material to the spouse of Devinda. Devinda has disclosed the relationship to the audit firm where he is one of the partners. Devinda is one of the partners. Now, identify what advice will you provide to Devinda on the subject matter? Right. This gives rise to self-interest that as Devinda is the engagement leader and he should not continue in his role. What do you think? Looks like correct, right? Yes. The indirect financial interest of Devinda may not be material and he may still continue to be the EL of Sunshine. That is of course wrong because this is a material. It's very clearly said it is material. It's very clearly material. So therefore that not the answer. Right. Since Devinda is the engagement leader and his spouse business relationship with the director of the audit plan will impair the independence and he should discontinue to be the EL of Sunshine. That is also correct answer. Devinda does not have a direct business relationship and therefore this does not have an impact on the independence and he should continue as the EL of Sunshine. No, that is wrong. You cannot say that that is a direct, as per the code of ethics, you know, the indirect business relationship, not only the engagement leader or engagement partner, close family member of the engagement leader or partner also be treated as the the equal position of the engagement partner. So therefore, we have now two answers, A and C. So you can comment here, what is your selection? A and C, what would be your selection? Right? Yes, as many of you said, the answer will be C. Answer will be C. Reason being why answer will be C, that I'll tell you the reason. Since Devinda is the EL and his spouse business relationship with the director of the audit plan will impair the independence and he should discontinue the EL of sunshine. So this gives rise to self-interest threat as Devinda is the engagement and he should not continue in his role. And it gives you a further elaboration here, business relationship and the independency, and he should discontinue. So the answer is C of this 1.9. Then we come to the last question. We come to the last question of MCQ. We took about 1 hour time. The Tally Associate, a firm of chartered accountants, have a written policy and process to ensure that people with right skill, experience and competencies are allocated to the audit engagement teams. This has been effectively implemented and a person is appointed to ensure that teams are assigned with people with required attributes. However, with the recent change of the staff availability, Tally done a change to the model and increased the recruitment in senior levels, and a strategy was formulated to recover the additional cost arising from the exercise. What element of the quality framework is applicable for the above scenario described? This is coming from the audit quality, right? The Tally Associate is your firm. Power cut. Right. Sorry for the interruptions. Tally Associates, a firm of chartered accountants, have written a policy and a process to ensure that the people with right skill, experience, and the competencies, so with regard to the people management and the right skill, this has been effectively implemented, and a person is appointed to ensure that the team are assigned with people with the required attributes. The audit firms are doing like that. However, with the recent change of the staff availability, the Tally done a change to the model and increased the recruitment in senior level. Now, most of the audit firms are now going for this model actually. So most of them are now moving into the permanent staff cadre. That is actually really a disadvantage for the audit associate. I, of course, personally don't agree with that, because since the difficulties are coming now, the audit firms are moving into this method, this model. That is another indication that the paper also has come. This is an indication that is a really disadvantage for our students. So therefore, I fundamentally don't agree with that. But as far as the business are concerned, it happens. Right. Now, so what element of a quality framework is applicable for the above scenario described? So what the quality framework, can you remember the quality framework elements? So input, output, process, there are 5 elements, right? And it says this exhibit an input factor, the knowledge, skill and experience of auditors and the time allocated for them to perform the audit. This exhibit an input factor, the values, ethics and attribute auditors, which in turn are influenced by the culture prevailing within the audit firm. The exhibit the process related to the audit process and the quality control procedures applied by Tally for its engagement. This exhibit the output factor. This is deliverable of the audit, which will be addressed to the users of the final statement, which include the wider information. So now this is, of course, this is not an output factor because this is obviously an input. Human resource, when you are using for an audit, it is not an output or it is not a process. Obviously, it is an input. Now, out of input also, it's the knowledge, skill, and the experience, not the values, ethics, and the attributes. So therefore, answer A will be the correct answer. Answer A will be the correct answer. This is from the framework for audit quality, which is, when you look at the audit quality, we are talking about the 3 standard. Sri Lanka standard on quality control number 1, SLA was 220 on the audit quality, and the quality framework, which are issued by CA Sri Lanka. with regard to the maintaining the audit quality. Right. So with that, we are finishing the MCQ questions. Now, MCQ question, my overall comment here is around two questions are very difficult, but all other questions are average that anybody can answer. Right? That's the normal pattern of the even a practical or even a real examination. But again, I highlight the two strategies that I gave. The elimination theory must be followed by every one of you, and then immediate answer that comes to your mind may not be the correct answer. Don't try it. Now at the exam, I know most of the students are waiting just to write the answers. Right? You keep your pen and you are just waiting like this. But don't be like that. So you have to basically be always read the examination instruction questions carefully. And sometimes you are a student which are really hurry. There are some students I know, and they are really hurry to write the answers. And their work also they are in a really hurry, but that won't work for you. These MCQ questions. So you have to devote now 10 questions or 20 marks. So you have about 30 minutes, but I'm requesting all of you, right? So you always, whenever you are allocating the time, right? Sorry. So when you're allocating the time, you can allocate a little more time for the MCQ question because it takes anyway. And don't take as the very first selection of MCQ. So it will not work and you will get mentally down. Sometimes, you are reading this so many. Now, for example, this is to read about so much of content of information. And if you are just reading itself, it takes a lot of time. And then you are mentally down after MCQ questions are over. So therefore, I'm requesting not to do that. Right, so we'll move into the next part of the question of short scenarios. I believe that you have the energetic mind now. Energy has not gone, and keep the energetic mind till we complete the paper. And the very good question number 7 and 6 and 7. And we will come to those questions quickly because those are very good practical examination cases actually for us to discuss, especially key audit matters has never been tested up to now. There is a possibility in testing this time, maybe, probably. And the going concern, obviously, definitely will have to come because now currently most of the companies are struggling. There are some examination questions from the question number 6 and 7. So we will discuss quickly the short scenarios now. I'm not going to take longer time for short scenarios because those are straightforward questions. Right. So the question number 2 is short scenario for 10 marks. What the required part is what? So always take the highlighter. What are the important instructions? You have to read the question 3 times. You have to read the question into 3 times and highlight the action verb and the number of marks always. That is so crucial. Read required section 3 times and highlight the action verb and the number of marks. Those will have to be picked by your mind while you are attending the question itself. Then you don't have to by heartly remember those things while you are attending the question, but automatically your hand and your highlighter will do that particular job, right? Assess IT general controls and IT application control that exit and silver line based on the fact and information provided in the above scenario. Assess IT general controls and IT application control that exit in silver line based on the facts and information provided in the above scenario. Third run. Assess IT general controls and IT application control. Exit in the silver line for above scenario. So 5 marks. Obviously, you need to automatically figure out. Right. So automatically, you should figure out this 5 marks even for a 5 points. So that must be. So that you understand 5 marks for 5 points. So that should be 5 points then. Automatically, you should understand. You do not, it's not required the examiner to tell you that in advance. And then assess the importance of IT general control of silver line by the external auditor for 5 marks. Again, it is assess action verb very important is the action verb and a high number of marks. Most of the students, they go wrong because of they don't apply the action verb properly. And that particular action verb, if you don't pick it properly, you will write a wrong answer, right? So now this is a question about the general control and application control. It is on information technology control under the internet control. It's my very good example. If you can remember when we were discussing even a previous mock exam, if you have watched. Now this general control and IT application control, good example is this mobile phone. So this mobile phone has a cover and as a tempered glass as access control. Those are general control to this mobile phone. And when you go to the application of WhatsApp, it's an app of the mobile phone. Then if you put a password for a WhatsApp application, it is application control. Similarly, in any bank or any company in this world, they are having information technology system that have a lot of controls to safeguard the entire computer system. That is general control. And there are certain specific application. For example, a company sales is application, purchase is application, salary is application. If you take the food city, so there are a lot of application. If you like a bank, maybe savings or deposit, fixed deposit, or it may be ATM or foreign currency. All those are separate applications, right? Within this mind, we will read the question to identify general control and application control. Silverline is a private limited. This is a private limited. It's a manufacturer. It has implemented an integrated system and initiate the process, the transaction. And certain modifications have been made to the system or program with the vendor's assistant and the system administrator is the IT manager of Silverline. The following are noted with respect to the system of IT environment of this company. The following have been noted. The unauthorized changes to program by way of password protection of programs so that the access is limited to assigned people of the IT staff. Unauthorized changes to the program's way of password protection. It's very clear. This is a ITGC. Why? Unauthorized changes to the program is not limited to a one application and it is for an entire computer application. So therefore, this is ITGC. And the access of the central computer is restricted. Access of the central computer is restricted. Yes, this is if the central computer is restriction, mean it is a control to protect the entire computer system. Therefore, again, this is an ITGC. The access to the data file, standard selling price are password protected and access is restricted to authorized provisions of the entity. Now in the food city, when you are going to buy, let's say when you are going to buy this water bottle, and the water bottle, when that the cashier girl or boy, when they put the this barcode machine, what happened? Automatically recognize that barcode, and that particular girl or boy can change the quantity, but can that particular person change the price? No, that cannot be changed. It's a restricted control, right? No one has the access to change that pricing. It's a general control of the entire computer system. Somebody can argue this as application control as well, but more or less it's a general control because it's a centrally managed and the central computer system, it is there. So therefore, this also could be taken up as the ITGC, but it can be argued as application control also, but this is a ITGC mainly. When a sale invoice is generated, it picks the sales order information and does not allow to exceed the quantity in the SO. Sales order quantity is not exceeded, system restricted. And the selling price of the products are selected from the sale price master data and the price cannot be changed. Obviously, if you can't change the price on the sales order specifically, and it doesn't allow your system to enter specifically into the sales, So this is the IT application control. It's application of sales module, application of the purchase module, application of the salary module. So it's an application. This is a sale application. Then the dispatch note cannot be generated. The dispatch note cannot be generated without having an approved sale invoice. The dispatch note is not allowed to be generated. It goes with again an IT application control number 2. Now we have answered for the part A. So you are supposed to identify IT, general control and application control. Here except you identify 5 and 5 marks is obtained. Just I told you, most of the answers of the auditing paper is just a copy pasting from the question. Answer is also given in the question if you know the differences of the required section that is being tested. You are the auditor of Silverline and you want to understand the IT general controls and the audit team wishes to rely on including automated controls. You will obtain the support from your internal expert in assessing the IT general control and testing the automated control. So I hope that this theory can be remembered. If not, I will explain again. For the part 2 of the question, part 1 is now we have done 5 points. Assess the importance of IT general controls of Silverline. Right. Silverline by the external auditor. Assess the importance of IT general controls of Silverline by the external auditor. Yes, it's a small issue with the question, the way it is coming by, but it's more or less meaning is there. Right. Now, it's like this. This is a theory. I hope that you have already studied this one under the internal control, chapter number 2. So, in a company, let's say this is a system. In this system has a lot of applications. If you safeguard the entire system, we call ITGC. If you put some control here, we call IT application control. Right. Now, as far as the auditing is concerned, auditors, when they adopt, listen to this one carefully. Huh? When the auditors adopt combined audit approach, right? When the auditors adopt the combined audit approach, what they do the test of control plus limited substantive procedure. The test of control mean what? They reliance on control. Rather than the auditor goes and himself gather the evidences through the substantive procedures, auditor collects the information and see whether the management has implemented the adequate internal controls, and if such internal controls are effective, auditor can decide whether, since the effective controls are there, auditor will not be able to carry out the detailed audit procedures. It's something like this. Since now, who is responsible in preparation of finance statement? Management. If the management has already taken the preventive measures to not to have an errors, it's easy our life. It's easy our life. So that easiness of our life will depend on up to what extent the management has implemented the control. That is why we rely on the internal control of the company's business organization. Now, when you are relying on this internal control, right, this control can be manual control or IT controls. When you are testing the control, it may be manual control, IT control. Right. Let's say IT control. Now, then the IT control mean what? General control or application control? Obviously, this is application control. Why? It is at operational level. It is at implementation level. Right? It's application control. Then, now you are getting connected. When the auditors are reliant on the control, and auditors will have to depend on the IT control as well, that's the basic theory which we have already learned. Having that understanding, having that mindset, read the question now. Assess the importance of the IT general control of Silverline by the external auditor. right? And we'll read the last paragraph as well. You are the auditor of Silverline and you want to understand the IT general controls, and the audit team wishes to rely on the controls, including automated control. You will obtain the support of your internal IT expert in assessing the IT general control and testing the automated control. You won't understand unless you have learned this one. Huh? So now it says that, now remember this, auditor can go and rely on this IT application control in concluding his audit only if general controls are good, right? If a company, if the general controls are the controls so significant in audit of finance statement, if the general controls are not good, no pointing and going and checking the application control. If the general controls are ineffective, application controls cannot be used in the reliance or relied upon by the auditor. That is the point here. Therefore, auditor has to check first what? Auditor has to check the general controls first. If the general controls are effective, only it will go to the application control. There was a similar past paper question in KB4 2019 examination question. So therefore, remember that this has never been tested the CL1 up to now. So if the general controls are satisfied, only the application control will remain. So therefore, application control, before that, the general control must be tested by the auditor. And also remember, this application control can be tested by the general auditor. That is possible. But application control, but general control cannot be tested by you and me. For that, there should be expert team. Each and every audit firm or a bigger firm, they have their ITGC teams, and they will come and check the ITGC environment, and they will check and they will give a clearance. Okay, look here, this ITGC are okay. So therefore, you can go for the application control. So that is the answer, right? Again, I'm telling what you need to write here. First of all, you have to say that the ITGC are essential. I'll show the answer. ITGC are essential. So those are based on the ITGC effectiveness only. Effectiveness of IT application control depends. So therefore, ITGC should be checked first before moving into the IT application control. So if you go to the answer of the this particular answer, I'll read the answer. This is the first part answer as we identified the 5. And this is just a general control what I highlighted. Application, same copy paste. What is there in the question? It is copy pasted. And we'll read the part B of the answer. But remember, you don't have to write the similar language here. But only thing is you have to have the technical wording inside of the answer. It may not be organized that what is answer given here, but you should remember this. Your exam papers are marked by chartered accountants. You can't bully them, or you can't write so many unnecessary things and the thing that they don't know the reading, therefore they will give marks. No, not like that. They have a standard marking scheme. They are chartered accountant. So they are chartered accountant. They have not just become a chartered accountant. They have come through this channel. So therefore, whenever you are writing, you have to write to the point and a point form, but don't try to write the stories. Point form, don't write the essay, don't write the paragraph. It's clear-cut point. If you know, you can write. If you don't know, don't try to cheat other examiner. It will not work here. So that therefore, you have to be careful in writing the exam answers. And some of the students are there. They have a thing like, if I don't write, right? If I don't write, it's like not enough to the mind. That mind is not enough because quantity is less. No, not required auditing paper. Not like that. This is not a single essay writing or English literature. This is a practical, a professional subject where practically we do. That is a point form answers are sufficient. Right. IT general controls include those controls over data center and network operation, system software acquisition, change and maintenance, access security, and application system acquisition, development and maintenance. Right. These controls are interdependent with IT. Automated controls and for the effectiveness of IT controls. So therefore, IT general controls are essential. So that is the point. That is essential. The audit team plan to rely on the system of Silverline and IT application control. In doing so, it is important to know whether IT general controls are effective. First of all, that has to be known. That is point number 2. Then Any deficiencies in IT general control will affect the auditor's ability to rely on IT application control. For example, deficiencies in the access control password will affect the effective functioning of individual system. Therefore, relying on IT application control, any other application control that dependent on IT is essential that the auditor understand and evaluate the effectiveness of ITGC control trust. An issue with the IT general control will have an impact on the audit strategy and the audit plan. So this whatever I highlighted point must be there in your answer. These 3 bullet points which I highlighted, if that is there, your answer is correct. And also remember this type of answers, if you don't know, you cannot write. Because these some of the questions which are given generally in the CL1 paper, if you really analyze the past paper exams of CL1, actually similar type of questions and similar type of information are coming repeatedly. The problem is you don't do the past papers properly. Actually, if someone does all the past papers properly with a proper mindset, you can predict the next exam and you can predict so many of examination questions. Right, let's go to the next question. The question number 3. Here PLC operates a large and fully pitched. So before that, what are the strategies? What I have told you, always read the required section 3 times and action verb highlight, take the highlighter and highlight the number of marks. Right. Assess 3 cybersecurity risks that will be applicable for CARE PLC for 3 marks. I'm not going to read 3 times, but you can do it. Communicate the management to control CARE should implement in order to address anyone in the cybersecurity risk in above for 2 marks for a 5 marks. So basically, this is basically from the digital auditing again for auditing in a digital environment. One of the interesting and fantastic topic of digital auditing for a chapter number 15 for a 10% of your syllabus weightage. So CARE PLC, this is a PLC. Always remember that the name of the company is important. So the various aspects of auditing, PLC or a private limited will have a significant difference. Operate a large fully fledged hospital. The nature of the business is important, which is in Colombo. A number of consultants on different specialized areas visit the hospital and it contains a laboratory, theater, in-house treatment facilities. We are talking about the private hospital in Colombo, maybe Navaloka, maybe Lanka, maybe Nine West, maybe Asiri. CARE uses a system for its operation which involve, so there is a system, booking, payments, etc. The system contains a data of patients and consultants. CARE uses online platform for booking, releasing the laboratory report and to aid with the inquiries made by the public. The communication takes place via emails with the consultants, suppliers, and other stakeholders. CARE has automated its operation. The IT manager stated that the healthcare entities continue to be most exposed industry at cyber attacks. Yes, cyber attacks are severely there, heavily there. And the data breaches cost is significant because all sensitive data, all customer data, all patients' data are very significant. So therefore, those data must be protected by the healthcare providers and it cannot be disclosed to a third party. So therefore, its question is asking us the 3 cybersecurity risks. 3 cybersecurity risks that will be applicable for a CARE PLC. And before attending to this question, I just want to tell you that. So, chapter number 15 is about 5-6 pages of the study text. It's very much important chapter to get the entire 10 marks. If you're talking about the cybersecurity risk, that particular chapter contains actually only 3 sections. Number 1, the latest development of the digital business environment like blockchain or like the robotic process automation or the artificial intelligence like that. That's a small section. Section 2, audit automation and the big data analytics, audit automation. And number 3, we comes into the computer assisted audit techniques. And number 4, we come to the cybersecurity. The cybersecurity, there is a table given in the study text that must be remembered with you that you can answer any of the questions. So now in order to answer this question as well, if you can't remember that, this question cannot be answered. So now if you, I'll just go to the study text and show you that table. This cybersecurity, if this is on your study text volume 2, right? Volume 2. And this is coming on chapter number 15, auditing in a digital environment. And if you go into the here, in the page number, yeah, I don't have the page number. Let's go. So this is the chapter. As I told you, there are only 4 things: digital business environment, audit automation, computer audit techniques, and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is the question is testing. So this is the table, cybersecurity. This table must be remembered. So these are the type of cybersecurity risk: ransomware and malware, phishing and phishing, and then the hacking that you are aware, right? Hacking and data leakage, data leak in the data that is applicable for a hospital, and insider threat. Data is to be taken out by the employees. And then the final one is the external disk and driver. So these are the cyber security risks that are given in the study text. This is the maximum testing in your examination. Therefore, this table must be remembered. And in the meantime, so there are controls also given to mitigate those risks, and those at least 2 by each point that you have to remember. If you go to the question now, question back, here basically asking cyber security risk. That 6 that will so what are the risks? Ransomware, malware, those viruses, hacking, right? Email phishing, data leakage, insider threat, right? External disk. Those are the 6 risks that can be seen in any business organization. Now we'll see those 6 whether it is here. That's very simple. Here PLC operates a large fully fledged hospital which is in Colombo. A number of consultants on different specialized areas visit the hospital, and it contains a laboratory, theater, in-house treatment facilities. Here use a system for its operation which involve a booking, payment, etc. Booking, payment, etc. This system contains data. If this system contains data, there is a security of data leakage. Right? There is a security risk of the data leakage. And consultant can use online platform for booking, releasing the laboratory reports, and to aid with the inquiries made by the public. So here sometime and it says that the system contains data of patients, and consultant can use an online platform. Since they are using the online platform for these releases and all that, so there is a high risk that our system will be hacking. So since there is a platform, so there is a hacking could take place. And the communication take place via emails. Obviously, when the emails are being used, the phishing is very, very common. What is meant by phishing? And there are some unauthorized emails comes to you, looks like from the known person name, and you just click your email. And if you just click and you will getting into their hacking process, your all data will be taken out by them. The phishing can happen. And also when you are working in the emails and when you are working with the public, obviously the ransomware or malware, the virus could take the control of your computer or system. That can take place. And also, and we are working with so much of employees in the organization. Therefore, there is an insider threat as well. There is insider threat as well. So therefore, when you look at all 5 or all 6 what we learn, including the insider threat, as can be justified in this hospital, it is available. Right? So therefore, all 5 risks, that is what the examiner is asking, assessing the cyber security risk. And part 2, communicate the management 2 controls that care should implement in order to address anyone. That means you have to select one risk and write the controls. That I told you the table, if you can remember, I told you to remember the 2 control. You see, anyone you can write. For example, data leakage, what you can do, hacking, what you can do, phishing, what you can do, ransomware, malware, insider threat. For example, phishing, what you can do. You have to enhance the awareness among the employees. And you should have a reporting mechanism when there is such a thing happen, how to report it, right? So likewise, also we call spam filters. Certain emails will have the spam filters that can have. Likewise, one of the risk you can write to control, but if you go into the study text, each risk has several controls. You can select one you can like, and you can write the 2 controls. You don't have to remember. Actually, if you know the meaning of this, if you know the meaning and if you understood that meaning, you can think and write at the exam. Right? If you go to the answer, I'm going to the answer discussion. Go to the answer, this which I told you, the cybersecurity, we have to link to the case when we are writing. KI uses by the emails as communication platform. So KI it's vulnerable for ransomware and malware, and which are seriously delivered via email. And phishing and spear phishing contact from an apparently trustworthy sources that can happen. KI use an IT system of the operations are automated. There is a risk of hacking and data leakage and mistaken or malicious leaking of data by that is insider threat, and loss of data of introduction to threat via external data storages devices. All what we discussed, right? And if you go into the control, so any control, see that same table has been given as an answer. So any control is okay by you, whatever you written, right? We come to the next question. So Lilani Fernando is one of the engagement partner of NLS Associates. She has been given an audit of client portfolio of 52 clients of different industries. You are required to assess action verb, highlight, number of marks, 5 marks, assess the responsibilities of Lilani as the engagement leader for the quality of the audit engagement at the engagement level. Assess the responsibilities of Lilani as the engagement leader for the quality of the audit engagement. Actually, engagement leader means engagement partner. And the quality of the audit engagement as the engagement level. This question is from the audit quality. So it's asked, what is the role of the engagement partner with regard to the maintenance of the audit quality? With regard to the maintenance of audit quality, it's a direct question from the study text. So what is your responsibility? Right. So remember, these are the answers. Exactly, I'll show in the study text the answers. So number 1, we should say that engagement partner or engagement leader is has the primary responsibility. Primary responsibility for audit quality. So engagement partner or leader, that particular person has the primary responsibility for the audit quality that is mandatory. Right. And after that, an engagement partner is responsible to ensure the remaining part of the audit quality control. What? Like ethical requirements, maintaining the ethical requirements. Right. And also acceptance and continuation of the client, acceptance and continuation of the client, and assigning correct staff, maintaining correct staff, and also performing the engagement. Right. So what I want to say that now engagement partner has a primary responsibility to ensure that the sub-elements of the audit quality control has been or complied by the audit team and the audit firm. Now, if I go to the study text to show you that where this is, if you go to the volume number 2 of your study text, And this is given in page number 8, chapter number 18 should be. Yes, audit quality control. Yes. If you go to the study text in the page here, very nicely there. Read this. The responsibility for the falls largely on the audit engagement partner who is responsible for the ultimate conclusion, and that audit partner has to ensure that is comply with the ethical requirements. Leadership cannot be done by engagement partner, and acceptance and continuation and assignment of engagement team, and also engagement performance where all these are being done. At least I expect you should have written at least this point. Engagement partner must ensure that the engagement is done. The direction, supervision, review, consultation, resolution of dispute are being done properly. That is the role of the engagement. Right. So if you just go to the answers, that is the answers given by the examiner as well. Right. These are the same thing which I explained you. Number 1, engagement lead is primarily responsible for audit quality. Right. An engagement partner must ensure that the audit team comply with the applicable ethical requirements. The audit partner is required to ensure the appropriate procedures in respect of accepting and continuing. And then engagement partner must ensure that the audit team is a whole as well as auditor's expert has the appropriate competence, right? Competence. And the ensuring good engagement performance involve direction, supervision, review, consultation, and resolution. At least I expect you should have written this point. If you have not written this point, obviously there is a lack of knowledge with regard to from the audit quality chapter. Chapter number 18 is a small chapter. I request you to relook at the particular chapter. Right, we come to the next question. So I'll give you a small interval after this question, and after that we can go to the large cases. So this question is not a difficult question. This is from assurance services. The first one, assess specific issues arise when preparing understandable, relevant, reliable finance statement of above nature for 3 marks. The assess under what circumstances an auditor may not accept to examine the finance statement above nature for 2 marks. Apply the relevant assurance framework in providing the service required by the directors of Mega Realty 5 marks. Actually, there is a small correction should be done. So this should be 5 marks and this should be 3 marks, right? There is a change over should have been taken place at the paper, but so it's okay. But this is if you are in some mock exam, so this correction should have been made. And if you read this, the directors of Mega Private Limited has approved an expansion plan for its activities, especially aiming to expand its operation in overseas. The directors require additional funding for this project and targeting a fund from private investors. Mega has a prepared finance statement for the next 3 years based on a certain assumption. You know, this is what PFI, prospective financial information, future financial information. The directors intend to obtain independent assurance over the prospective finance statement prepared by Mega. So that is the private limited. So they want to obtain an assurance. Obviously, PFI, you should remember the Sri Lanka standard on assurance engagement 3400 is one of the common standard that you should have under the assurance engagement. I'll answer the question from the part C because that actually this should have been the A. So that way only it should have been come correctly, but we'll start from here. Apply the relevant assurance framework in providing the services required by the directors in Mega. This is PFI assurance framework, and Sri Lanka standard on assurance engagement 3400 should be applied. That is a framework for a 2-3 marks. And then assess under what circumstances an auditor may not accept to examine the finance statement of the above nature. Under what circumstances he may not take. Under what circumstances he may not take about type of services. And this is also very clearly given in the study text. I'll show you that. So if the assumptions are not realistic, number one, right? If the assumptions are not realistic, number one, and number two, right? If auditor believes that, or if a practitioner believes that this particular report will not serve the purpose of the intended user, right? And also, it is inappropriate. We can't give an opinion. And it is not suitable for an intended user. Under these circumstances, auditor may not accept. Because if you accept, you can't give an opinion. If you accept, you have to give an opinion. If you can't give an opinion, we should not take that. If I just go to the study text, volume 2, chapter number 17. Chapter number 17. Under the PF5. See, PF5. Reporting on prospective financial information, page number 534. And the principle of PF5 and all that is there. And type of prospective financial information, accepting engagements. You read this one. The auditor should not accept or should withdraw from an engagement when the assumptions are clearly unrealistic, or when the auditor believes that the prospective financial information will be inappropriate for intended user. Then you can't take this one. Right, clear? Yes, that is the answer. Then the part A answer is assess specific issues arise when preparing understandable, relevant, and reliable financial statement of above nature. So what are the issues when you are preparing for the future financial statement? What are the issues that you have to face? You have to make it understandable, you have to make it relevant, you have to make it reliable, and you have to make comparable. That wording is not here. So when you are making us understandable, so you have to make a lot of disclosures. Otherwise, people don't know what will happen in future. We don't know. When before 2004, we were not aware the tsunami will come. Now the Sri Lankan economic crisis is today. We were not aware. Even though our economics were aware, but we were not aware, majority. Because it was hidden. So therefore, when you are talking about the future, there are a lot of uncertainties could take place. So therefore, understandable means mostly the disclosure part will have to be properly done. That is one of the issues. And relevant. There can be a lot of information which are used for the preparation of the prospective financial information. So again, it has to be relevant for the decision making. You prepare a cash flow prediction. You have prepared the cash flow next 3 years, but it is not relevant at all for the decision making. There is no meaning. So therefore, there should be some relevant and finally reliable, because whatever the assumption you can make. So I can make an assumption. I will get through the exam next time. You can make that assumption, but it can't be just an assumption. It should be supported with your work program, with your hard works, with your commitment, with your sleepless night, attending to the exam papers. There are a lot to prove, lot to be proved by you, because that is a future and there is an uncertainty involved there. So therefore, so this is understandable, relevant, and reliable issues are specific issues we have to address when we are preparing the prospective financial information, very clearly given in the study text. I'll just show you that. So directly from the study text question, you can see these are the things. Principles of PFI. Increasingly, company directors are producing PFI either voluntarily or because it's required by regulators. For example, in the case of a public offering of shares, markets and investors need PFI, and that is understandable, relevant, reliable, and comparable. Some specific issues arise in applying this principle of PFI is as follows. Understandable, relevant, and reliable has been tested at the exam. Disclosure is required of sources of uncertainty, assumption made, determining factors that will affect whether the assumption will be borne out. Borne out means confirmed, and alternative outcomes. no PFI specific issues arise other than the need for the information to be relevant to the decision making. The reliability of PFI cannot be confirmed by evidence of past transactions or events. Its reliability depends on its being supported by analysis of the entity and its strategies and the plans. So that is the answer. If you go to the answer given by the examiner as well, the same thing, right? You can see. So that table is coming as it is. And part B also coming what I told you, and part C also coming what I told. Right, so we have completed now the most, almost all the areas of the short scenarios, except one question and the MCQ questions. So, so we'll take up a 5-minute break. I know you are very tired now listening to a same way, but I'm not tired. I'm not tired. I have the energy. So you also should have the energy till we finished. But we'll take a 5-minute break and let's start. After that, we are going to go for a long case scenarios 2 questions which are very much interesting, and probably it will take another maximum 1 hour or 1 hour first 15 minutes. So yeah, probably before 10 o'clock the session will over. So therefore I'm requesting all the students to be with this program, because you don't have a time again and again to see these recordings and all that and this, and those exams is very nearby. So you have to get this practical thinking with me, these 3 hours, and that will be really helpful for you to excel at the exam on 24th July. So let's meet within 5 minutes time. Yeah, shall we start? So y'all going to be a chartered accountants. Energy must be there. I know the power cut issues are going through. Some of you are struggling, but all these difficulties, all these challenges, all these things, we have to overcome and we have to do our exams. There is no way out for all of us. So unless otherwise we get our education and get qualified, and even there will be a lot of opportunities even to go out of country if you are qualified only. Don't get discouraged with this crisis and all that is there. But we have to have a very positive mind thinking and the real courage to challenge back to all for these difficulties. So that is the skill, that is the spirit of a chartered accountant. Because when you become a CFO one day, the company will be facing a lot of difficulties and challenges. So you are the one to safeguard a company. You are the one to look after the success of a company, not the business, but various other aspects, including the financial. So so then you have that mind now itself. Being a CS student, that courage must be there. But unfortunately, if you have the power, but if you can't concentrate this particular discussion for about 3 hours, 10.5 hours, a listening of 3 hours will be difficult. How about whether you will write keeping a 3 hours an exam? I doubt. So therefore, I'm requesting all the students, please be serious or be genuine and do real hard works. You will really get a result. There is no doubt about that the success of exam if you are really courageable and positive thinking, and whether if you are doing a proper works. Somebody used to say auditing paper is difficult. Yes, difficult. But that doesn't mean that, but still the most of the students who are working properly getting through the exam. It's matter. It's everything in our hand. Now someone else, no one else can do that. Only you how to do. We being lectures or being institute or being any other third party can only give a guidance, but the remaining part will be is you are in your hand. You have to take it seriously and it has to be done. Right. So I will go to the question number 5 now. Don't get boring. Huh? So keep the courage till we finished anything when next 1.5 hours. Right. The question number 5 is from the, again, this has never been tested in a CL1 earlier. This is a good question, actually, this type of question. The required part of the question is assess the matters you will consider. Action verb is assessed for a 5 marks and action verb is assessed for a 5 marks. Assess matters you will consider establishing overall audit strategy for the audit of Extreme for the year ended 31st March 2020. Assess the items that are included in the audit plan of Extreme for a 5 marks. This is something which actually I expected in the real exam, but it has come in the mock exam. Because overall audit strategy, when auditor is carrying out or when the auditor is planning an audit, just listen 2 minutes for these. Management of ABC Private Limited. They prepare the finance statement and give it to the shareholders. But the shareholders do not trust the management. So therefore, shareholder appoint a third-party person called auditor. Look, your auditor, my management has prepared the finance statement, but I don't believe them. I don't trust them. Therefore, can you come and check this finance statement and give me a report? This is what simply we call external audit. Right? While we are doing the external audit, since we cannot give 100% assurance on the finance statement, we give only a reasonable assurance. When you are giving that reasonable assurance, one of the important thing is the audit planning. Right? So audit planning basically has 2 things to be looked at. One is called overall auditing strategy, audit strategy. Other one called detailed audit plan. Both are explained in the chapter number 5 of your syllabus. So overall audit strategy means what? There should be an overall plan for the audit, and how that plan is executed is the audit plan. There should be a strategy. Now, for example, if you are going to do an exam in December, there should be some strategy that you are adapting. Okay, this is how I'm going to take my study leave. This is how I plan the studies. There should be an overall approach, that is strategy. But how each subject on each day and what are you going to do, the each one, that is a plan. Audit also like that. There are two things like this. So if you can remember, I'll just go to the theory and the volume number 1. And if you can come to the page 167 of page number 167. Right. So this is coming with audit plan in chapter number 5. And this basically talks about the point number 2, overall audit strategy and the audit plan. So you can see here. See, overall audit strategy and the audit plan is the topic. Right. And if it is audit strategy, and what are the things should be there in overall strategy? Overall strategy matters to consider. One is characteristic of the engagement, what type of audit we are going to carry out, and what is the reporting objectives, timing, communication, significant factors, preliminary engagement activities, and nature, timing, and extent of and resources. Those are overall planning. And when it comes to audit plan, so that audit plan basically contains 3 things. Right? 3 things. Right? Audit plan shall include risk assessment procedures. What is that? And what are the further audit procedures? Further audit procedures, what is that? And other plan procedures. These are the 3 things that generally include in a detailed audit plan. Right? So now example of items to be included, the timetable, allocation, audit procedures, materiality, like that also comes. Now your exam question is testing on these 2 concepts. What it talks about is. So you are supposed to read this case study and see whether the factors that is given in the study text can be seen here. As is the matters that you will consider establishing our strategy for the audit of extreme for the year ended 31st March 2022. Assess the items that are included in the audit plan. Theory is being tested in a practical case. Right? If you just see that now, the auditor has developed the audit strategy for the audit of Extreme Private Limited. This is a Extreme Private Limited for the year ending 31st March 2022 financial year. Extreme is a fashion design company. This is a fashion design company, and the services are available for foreign companies. The applicable accounting framework for the preparation of finance statements is SLFRS SME. So what is this? Financial reporting framework is one of the overall auditing strategy, right? Overall strategy, right? That is coming under the engagement characteristic. If I just show you that, see the study text. Financial reporting framework coming under the engagement characteristic. That's how they see the theory into the practice. Right. Then, since the parent auditor has a reporting responsibility, the finance statement of Extreme is to be available by 30th May. The finance statements are needed by 30th May. If the finance statements are needed by 30th May, mean what? This is again the timeline. Timeline. This is overall the strategy. If I just go show you that timeline. Entities timetable for reporting. Now you can see what easy question. And prior to that, it is expected that the auditors will brief the finance director who is member of the board. So now we have to brief to the finance director. We are briefing to the finance director mean what? Again, coming to the communication. How the communication should take place. Communication. Right? Nature of communication, expected communication with third parties, discussion with management and those charged with governance, organization meeting with management, all those are coming with the overall auditing strategy. Yeah. The company was using a simple accounting system, and 1st April 2021, it has implemented an integrated accounting system. In the previous years, no system reliance was placed. And the auditor has adopted a substantive approach for the audit. So now that means previous year, there is no reliance on the system. So that is overall auditing approach. We are going to move for the reliance of the control. So it is something which how you are going to plan the audit. What should be my audit approach? Again, number 4, it's an engagement characteristic, right? Engagement characteristic. If you just see that engagement characteristic, and entity specific reporting requirement, expected audit coverage, nature of business, availability of internal organization, internal audit, use of service organization, effect of information technology on audit procedures, reliance on controls, availability of client and personal data. Right. Due to COVID-19, the business was disrupted in 2021 and made a marginal loss for the year ended 31st March 2022. Right, 2022. And made a marginal loss of, we has a loss of 1.6 million and profit of USD 2.5 million were reported in the March 2020 and 2021. So the company has made a losses. When the company is making a losses, so you know materiality calculation will have to be done as a part of the overall auditing strategy. The materiality calculation may be profit-based, revenue-based, asset-based, net asset, JP. There are 5 benchmarks. That has to be decided as an overall strategy as well as the detailed audit planning. The management have extreme emphasized the audit team members of continuity at least at the senior level given the reporting deadline for this engagement. One on the other hand, it is expected that the engagement recovery to be 75% compared to 65% in the previous year. So the engagement recovery means it is recovery of the audit fee. What is your recovery of the profitability of the engagement? This is actually one of the technical terms used by the big audit firms, not a general firms. So this is a technical term that generally there will be when the mock papers, when the papers come, there will be some technical words that are used in the audit firm, which are not available in the standard sometime, may be coming, but it's highly unlikely in the final exams. But even if it comes, don't worry about that. If you don't know a one-word meaning, just leave it out because finally substance is important. Now here, if you look at that, so there is a engagement budgeting. So engagement budget. What will be the fee? What is the timeline that you are going to expect it? That is also an overall strategy. Lastly, audit considered the fraud in revenue recognition and management override of control as significant risk. Last year, we have recognized the revenue as one of the significant risks. So if the revenue is significant risk in this year, when you are planning the audit, also you need to see that there is a possibility that the revenue could be misstated. You are the audit manager of this engagement now. So this, if you see that, there are a lot of aspects of coming from the overall auditing strategy. Now, if you are to write, assess the matters you will consider establishing the overall strategy, you can write many now. You can write the financial reporting framework, timeline, communication, and overall approach, calculation of materiality, engagement budgeting, staff allocation, all that is can be written. Just look at the answer. See, engagement acceptance, the accounting framework, reporting requirement, business characteristics, the use of IT, client personnel, especially during the year, auditor has to focus system and possibility of replacing the system reliance. Reporting objectives, timing of the audit. Example, in this instance, there is a reporting timeline set which is crucial to the parent auditor. The nature of communication timetable for reporting meetings with the management. Discussion with those charged with governance. Significant factors, preliminary engagement activities and knowledge gain. Determination of materiality, example. Nature, timing and extent of resources. How to meet the client expectation in assigning the resources. And selection of engagement team, engagement budgeting, what we discuss, everything is there. Now, whenever you are writing in the answer, you may think that my answer will not contain all these detailed answers. So how can my answer is correct or no? No. So you are not supposed to have the same answer. It's not required to have the same answer, but this technical idea must be there. Because as I'm telling, your papers are marked by chartered accountants who are qualified people. They can understand what you are trying to say that. They will not cut your marks if your idea is there, but not the wording exactly what is expected in the marking scheme. No. So I have also prepared a lot of papers, not for ZA, but for other professional exams. And or other model papers I have prepared, and I have prepared for exams, and I have marked myself. So when we do that, we never go with your exactly of the marking schemas. It's what you are trying to tell that we can understand, we can feel it. If that is there, you will get marks, don't worry. But only thing is, you should learn properly the theory and write what you know and what is requested. Just because of the writing weakness, sometimes you may not get reduced too much of mark. There can be circumstances it is getting reduced, but that is not a significant factor for you to decide. Right? You will get fail or not, fail or pass. Right. Then when it comes to audit plan, I told you there are three things: risk assessment procedures, further audit procedures, and the other audit procedures. You say this, a description of nature, time, and extent of risk assessment procedures, example including materiality. A discussion of nature, time, and extent of plan further audit procedures, right? So for example, the going concern and the revenue audit procedures. And other plan audit procedures required to be carried out for the engagement to comply with the SLIUS given in the current resource going concern may be one of the area. Right. So I know that question is not easy if you have not properly done the theory and if you have not practiced the question. There are one or two examination questions coming from this area early itself. I can't exactly remember the examination paper, which year, but there, if you look at the past papers, there was a 2 exam question from here. But if you have practiced that and you know the meaning of overall auditing strategy and the detailed plan, if you know the difference between these two, you can think and write. It's not required to be the same thing what the examiner has given. But if you don't know this one, you can't write anything. For example, material level, timetable, financial reporting framework, all those you can write. Just forget about the theory. You can't remember anything. You can't remember anything. You don't know anything. You can't remember anything or you don't know anything. Still, can I write this? Yes. Just try to understand overall plan and the detailed plan. What should I do? So, because as I told you, most of the answers are in the question itself. Right. So we go with the now. We are moving into the now of the large cases of fantastic and interesting questions. And so I hope that I will start with the question number 6. I'm really interesting to do these 2 questions. A lot of practical application is there with the theory. So let's discuss in detail, but if you have any questions, so you can raise always the practical thinking. And I'm not expecting your final exam to be more practical like this, but if it is the case, it is good for the student to have studied properly because you don't have to remember the theory. Right. And also you can, the marking scheme is available and this will be shared by the Sri Lanka through their website. After this session is over, probably maybe tomorrow. So they will share this marking scheme also with the website and to the LMS. So it will happen. Right. So let's look at the most interesting area in auditing. Right. Most, I would say, interesting and easiest area. Question number 6. Read that. Let's look at what? Required search. You are required to assume you are the auditor of Alpha and assess the risk. And assess the risk of fraud in Alpha for 5 marks. Purely, this is SLA US 240, one of the key standard, one of the significant standard in auditing of the fraud in an audit of finance statement that I need to have. So Alpha Private Limited is a trading the branded mobiles, computers. So they are in the business of branding mobiles, computers, printers, and the other related services. Given the current market demand, Alpha has set the strategy to increase the market share from 15 to 30. They are going to increase the market share. The directors are closely monitoring the performance against the budget. Directors are monitoring that. To incentivize the strategy, the senior management and sales personnel have been provided attractive variable compensation. This has resulted in the following aggressive marketing strategies to meet the targets. The management interested both on the top line and bottom line, profit and the revenue and the profit of the financials of Alpha. Question is open-minded. Question is a very open. It's not a specific question. The question is asking, assume you are the auditor of Alpha and assess your risk. Assess risk of fraud in the audit of financial statement. What is your risk? If you look at your risk, you know, there is a incentive. Right? There is a motivation. Right? That is a fraud risk factor number one, which we learn under the standard. Why people engage in the fraudulent activity? If that person has a pressure, if that person has an incentive, if that person has a motivation, he will engage in the fraudulent activity. So given the scenario here, this particular program or this particular compensation packages which were introduced by the management will result the people to engage in the more fraudulent activities to get more profit and more revenue. End of the day, they will get their bonus or any other facility remuneration, and it will be more when you get more profit of the company. So therefore, it's very clear-cut incentive or a motivation is there in this given company to manipulate the financial reporting through fraudulent financial reporting. So you can make the fraudulent, you can make the top line or a bottom line of a company manipulate through what? So they can manipulate through the fraudulent financial reporting. The fraudulent financial reporting means your fictitious journal entries are passed. You are doing the window dressing. It may be teaming, lading, or whatever the concept that you learned in the fraud standard. And this fraudulent financial reporting will be applicable to manipulate the financial report and then get a more profit and more benefit out of that. Right? So one of the areas that this can be done is through the JE, journal entry. Easily you can manipulate the year-end sales through the window dressing by passing a journal entry. Right? So now, since this is a open question, you can write. And also you learn in the revenue standard, fraud standard, the revenue always subject to, there's a rebuttable presumption that the revenue is always subject to fraud risk. Now I just talk several aspects in the fraud. Because this is an open question. Now you don't know what to write. But you have to write for a 5 mark. That is challenging. That is challenging. What you are going to write? Number one fact that you have to tell this. So this management is given, senior management and the sales personnel has been given the attractive variable compensation, and they have the aggressive marketing campaign. And also they are all interested in the top line and the bottom line, top and bottom line of the company. So these 3 factors shows that is a fraud risk factor number 1, incentive and motivation. So that is one point. The second point would say that, so this can only be done through the fraudulent financial reporting where you are manipulating the finance statement to overstate of the real result. This can be done through various methods like journal entry, revenue, and like that. If you can write that 3 points, it's a well perfect answer. Just look at the answer. See, answer. The marketing strategy and incentive given make the person to be aggressive in terms of achieving the target, and the incentives are attractive. There will be a motivation for aggressive earning. This wording must be there, right? And the fraud risk could be fraudulent financial reporting. That must be there, right? Then only mark will come. Since the management looks both top line and bottom line of the financial, this may result in manipulation, falsification, or alteration of accounting records, right? And the such for that it comes 2 marks. And the such fraud may be carried out by way of management override of controls. Example, fictitious recording of journal entries, or improper adjustment of estimate by way of manipulating the estimates and assumption. How it could be done? Second point. And the last point is the risk of fraud in terms of the revenue recognition is to be high, and this will be high on areas such as journal entries, estimate, the discovers. Now I know, so it is highly unlikely that this you may not write, but at least you should have written these 2 points. If you have not written these 2 points, that one thing, you know the subject, but you have not practiced these type of questions, and you don't know what to write for a 5-mark questions. That is not the fact of that you don't know the subject, but that is the fact of lack of practice and question to answer the given questions by the exam. Right. We'll go to the part 2 of the question. That is also another interesting part. So alpha is the first tier of audit. So we'll look at the required part. Discuss is the action verb. Discuss the view of the junior team member of the audit team, whether you agree with him, for 5 marks. So alpha is the first tier audit of your audit firm. The previous year's audit has been performed by another firm of chartered accountants. Another audit firm has done. Your junior team members state that the opening balances, corresponding figures, opening balances which are represented as the comparative finance statement of your company, your financial year, are in order as the predecessor auditor has been provided an unmodified opinion on the finance statement of a previous year. Syllabus 410, initial audit engagements, is applicable here. Basically, if the previous year audit has been done by another auditor, if the previous year audit has been done by another auditor, right? If that auditor, you are the new auditor, you have to apply the standard of 510. So you are supposed to satisfy with regard to the opening balances of the company. So when you are satisfying with that, your junior staff member has told that we have just seen the predecessor auditor's audit report. So therefore, we are happy with the opening balance. Are you in agreement with the audit junior's view? No. Why? Right? No. The first point that we have to write is that, yes, we have to read the previous year finance statement and audit report. Yes, that is correct. What the junior is telling is correct. You have to check the previous year finance statement and the audit report. But you cannot just satisfy with that. So what you have to do next? You have to ensure that opening balances do not contain material misstatement. In doing that, first of all, you have to see the opening balances are being correctly brought forward. The opening balances are being correctly brought forward for the current financial year. In practical auditing, if you are working in an audit firm, you know, we check the opening balance. Put in this mark. You have to check the opening balance, whether it has been correctly taken from the last year to this year. And also, second point, you have to see that accounting policies, when the accounting policies have correctly been applied. Whether accounting policies have correctly been applied. Not correctly actually. Consistently been applied. What is applied in the previous year should have been applied in this year. If the accounting policy has changed, then it has to be dealt with LKS 8. Retrospective adjustment will have to be made. And third thing, so auditor has to perform certain audit procedures to satisfy the opening balances, like reviewing the previous auditor's working papers, right? Or the certain audit procedures that you carried out in this year will result some evidence of the opening balance, or you have to take a specified audit procedure. So therefore, I'm not in agreement with the junior's view that just reading the information of the previous year audit report is not sufficient, that you have to look at 3 additional things. Opening balance brought forward, accounting policy, and the opening balance do not contain material statement. For that, we have to do one of these, maybe reviewing the predecessor auditor's working papers, and maybe using the current audit procedures, or using this is a study text, very clear actually. I'll show you that. If you go to the volume 1 of your study text to the opening balances, see here, I have the correct page. Right? So this is coming on the chapter number. This is chapter 13. And if you look at the chapter 13, auditing opening balances, and what is the responsibility is very clearly given. So this is the responsibility, audit evidence that you have to gather. Determining whether the prior period closing balances are correctly brought forward. Determining whether the opening balance reflect the application of appropriate accounting policies. Performing one or more of the following, whether prior period finance statements were audited, reviewing the predecessor auditor's working papers. Evaluating whether audit procedures performed in the current period provide evidence relevant to opening balances. Performing specific audit procedures to obtain evidence regarding the opening balances. See how nice the answer. So that is the answer given by the examiner as well. I'm not going to read it out because the same thing is given here. Right, so we'll go to the next part of the question. So that is part numbers. Now we have done 10 marks here. The next 5 marks. Apply appropriate sampling techniques in selecting the sample for testing. Sampling come in here. So you might have learned the statistic sampling, non-statistical sampling, right? There are several sampling mechanisms, high value, systematic sampling, block sampling. So you have to have a good understanding about the sampling techniques as well, right? If you just read that, so you are testing the valuation of finished goods at the balance sheet date. So you are testing the valuation of finished good of the balance sheet date. You have been provided a detailed listing of finished good. You have a detailed listing of finished good with quantities and values which you have agreed to the accounting records. You understand that there are a range of finished good items that are being sold at the prices of some items are comparatively high. Prices are comparatively high due to their nature. Also, there are some items which comprise large volume, but the prices are not at the high, but volume is very high. And the end of this represent the material amount of the population. Further, you have been provided with the aging of the finished goods. Now you are in the process of selecting a sample to test finished good valuation of alpha for the 31st March 2022. You need to obtain high level of audit evidence. So you need a high level of assurance, high level of audit evidence from this testing. So apply appropriate sampling techniques in selecting the sample for testing. Now, there is an inventory. There are few matters are given. What is the sampling techniques that you need to apply? Obviously, anybody would have written this one. I believe that you should have written this, number 1. High value sample, because they were talking about the values. You can select some high value inventory items separately, right? Because they are talking about the high value. And also, they are talking about the aging of finished good, of how long the stocks are there. So therefore, you can identify another specific sample of old inventory, all inventory. So these two are specific characteristics. Specific characteristic. High value you can select, or old inventory you can select. Those are special samples. But in the meantime, it says that, so you have a represent a material amount of the population. So that means there are some small balances, but as a total, it is material. Now, what can be done now? High value selecting and old inventory selecting. Actually, results of that sample cannot be projected for the population. Because now when you have a population of 1,000, right? Out of 1,000, if you select 100, right? Out of 1,000, if you select 100, if the 20 wrong, if you check 100, 20 wrong, then you can multiply into 1,000 and see whether what would have been the errors of 1,000 if we had checked projecting. But if you check only the high value, this cannot be done. If you check the all inventory, this cannot be done. Because that are not high value items, or all inventory samples are specific characteristic. Those are not representative sample of the entire population. High value or all items can be selected. Those are specific characteristic based sampling mechanism. So now then you can't conclude, because it says the high level of audit evidences are needed. So what can you do? So then you have to go for a statistical or non-statistical sampling, especially example like systematic sampling. Number 3, systematic sampling for the other inventory item. Then only you can manipulate, you can project into the population like this. So therefore, here you can apply the 3 sampling techniques: high value and the all items specific characteristic, and the maybe statistical or non-statistical another sampling mechanism to project the results into the population. That may be a systematic sampling, or any other random sampling also can be done. Sampling, that's a very good question in the November 2021 mock paper as well. So you can do that question as well. So that sampling, always you need to have good understanding, because recent CL1 papers, I didn't see the sampling has been properly tested or the exam question, but therefore there's a possibility of being tested in July. We just read the answer. So there are high value items which can be selected for the testing, example printers, and this selection is based on a specific characteristic, right? High value, and also further aging is provided a finish. There are long age items, right? The problem is you will be able to select some item from testing which is also a specific characteristic. If there are exceptions, it cannot be explorated to the untested population. This cannot be done in that model. The above sample selection may not be sufficient to obtain high level of audit evidence, as the untested population may remain material. Therefore, you need to apply either statistical or non-statistical sampling in selecting a sample for testing. If any exception, this could be explored to the untested population. Example, you can note down systematic or even random is possible. Right. Now coming to the last question of the question number 6 for a 20-mark question. Now, are you tired? You will be tired in listening for 3 hours. But this tiredness will give you a definite result in the July exam. What to do? We have to do sacrification in our life if we want to achieve a good thing. We as students did that effort in earlier, but today we have achieved. Now, if you talk about myself, I have achieved that, the goals that I had earlier. So today you have some goals. If you want to achieve that, sacrifications, commitments, never giving up, positive thinkings are needed. If you want to go to BMI CH one day, with your parents or with your loved one. I have told this one earlier. And get the membership of ACA and the membership of such a prestige qualification of a professional body. And that particular day, life is going to completely change. Your financial, non-financial, social, and economical, all the things are going to change. So therefore, to come to that moment or to fulfill your parents' dreams or your loved one dreams, you have to do this one. Easy to give up? Right. Easy to give up, but easy to escape, but difficult to bear. That is the life. In this economic crisis, the people are struggling. So easy to give up, but you have to live and you have to survive. If you have applied the exam, it is easy for not doing the exam. If you do the exam, only all these problems and difficulties come. But that is the easiest option, finally has no value. We have to have the courage to overcome or to face to any circumstances that comes in your life. Then now no difficulty. Remember the BMICH one day, that when you are becoming a chartered accountant, that day, what is your feeling, happiness, your fear and spaces? And just imagine those things. Your salary, you will be getting another 50,000 today, salary, let's say 20,000, or a trainee of 15,000. This multiply into the 20 times, 300,000, 500,000. When you get a salary, you will realize sacrifice has given you the result. And the person who went on the bus or goes on the road on the bus, when you go on a vehicle, your own vehicle, you bought the vehicle from your salary. Now your parent might have given a vehicle, but that also has a value. But more than that, from your money, you are earning, you have got that. That is the real satisfaction in the life. But to come to that level, we have to do the sacrification today. For that, we need to have a proper positive mindset and courageable mind to go and destroy all other limitations and the barriers to come out from that. Right, last one. So you are now in the process of finalizing the audit of Alpha for the year ended 31st March 2022. You ask the engagement manager in order of the following. The government has passed the bill on surcharge tax. This is a real practical case. Actually, this is a real practical case. Alpha is become liable for the surcharge tax on the taxable profit for the year ended 31st March 2021. Surcharge tax act was passed in about 2 months ago in the parliament. Due to the current economic conditions, sale of April 2022 and May 2022 have significantly dropped with the price adjustment made to the reflect increased importation cost. A real scenario, practical. One of the Alpa's outlet code with fire and losses estimated to be 110 million. You are auditing the 31st March 2020 audit, but all these incidents have occurred after the financial year. So analyze the above matters and their impact on the finance statement of Alpha for the year ended 31st March 2022. So this is obviously we call subsequent event. Sri Lanka auditing standards 460, or the event after the report in detail case 10. The government has passed the bill on the surcharge tax on 7th April 2022. Alpha is become viable to surcharge tax on the taxable profit for the year ended 31st March 2021. So tell me whether this has to be adjusted to the year end 31st March 2021, 22, whether should we adjust this one or not? This is an adjustable event or an unadjustable event. What do you think? Adjustable event or an unadjustable event? Anybody can comment in the chat box. Adjustable event or an unadjustable event? This is not an adjustable event, not an adjustable event, because remember, this act is passed in the, even though this is retrospectively adjusted, this act is passed in the parliament on 7th April. Enacted, right? It is enacted in the parliament is 7th April. It was not enacted by 31st March. So therefore, this obligation arises only on after the year end. And so therefore, this is not an adjustable event. And also, there is a separate SOT issued by Sri Lanka for this. Statement of the treatment or recommended practice statement has been given by Sri Lanka. So this has to be only a disclosure. It is not a, this is not an adjustable event. It's not adjustable because the reason is enacted in the parliament after the year. Second one, due to the current economic conditions, sales of April 2022 and the May 2022 have significantly dropped. So sales have come down and the sales prices also might have come down. Now, if the inventory was there on the 31st March, subsequently realization as prices is coming down, NRV, net realizable value of inventory will have to be checked with the subsequent selling prices. Obviously, there is a concern here. What is that? That is an adjustable event. Why? That gives a further evidences on the status or condition at the year end balances in the finance statement, that is inventory. That is an adjustable event. Third one of the Alpa's outlet off with fire and the loss is estimated to be 110 million. But actually this question is a bit of a information is missing. When this has been happened, it has not given. You are now in the process of finalizing the audit of Alpa for the year ended to engagement manager noted the following. Right? So then one of Alpa's outlet caught with the fire and the loss is estimated to be 110 million. You have to give a date. It may be in April, May, June, or it can be during the year. The during the year is adjustable. But the question itself looks like we are talking about the subsequent event. So therefore, we have to assume that this happened after the year end. So therefore, this type of event also not adjustable, not an adjusting event, because we are only just disclosing this particular fact because this doesn't give the further evidences on the status of the year end. You just see the three events. The surcharge tax non-adjusting event as it was not substantially enacted as of 31st March, but this requires a disclosure. Finished good. Price drop in selling prices subsequently indicate of the net realizable value of the finished good as of 31st March 2022. Therefore, in order to be assessed, an adjustment to be made. Not an adjusting event that the condition did not exceed at the balance sheet date. But that depending on the date. Right. So we are coming to the final question now. Question number 7. I have given the time that we are going to finish at 10. Actually, this time I put for daytime to finish, but now we can put the PM. So we are going to finish at 10 PM. So please bear with me till then. Right. So this question is again, it's a very good question. And question number 7 is it's a purely a practical scenarios. And so you can open your, you can open your mind into thinking of different angles of a practical auditing, where how auditors will analyze each case in a different manners. And I'm requesting most of the students sometime last time also when we do the mock paper and after that some of you got scared. Don't get scared. Your final paper also similar to like this, but I personally believe that there will not be only a practical cases like this. There will be theory and practical mix of questions would be coming. But these questions are very good question to practice yourself in order to see your application knowledge. You are required to evaluate the impact of the above matter described to the audit report on the finance statement of Reka Private Limited for 31st March 2022 for 5 marks. So you have to evaluate it into the audit report. We will see. This is a bit of a different case. So Reka Private Limited, the company manufactures roof tiles. This is a private limited, important for audit reporting. Over the last 5 years, the revenues of the company have declined significantly. Revenue decline. The company has not been able to settle it due to the including settlement of bank borrowings. They are unable to settle the bank. The banks have refused to provide additional financial or rescheduling the existing loan. Bank has refused to finance. And some creditors have initiated the legal action against the company to recover their overdues. Further, the owner of the company has stated that the industry is at the declining stages. Multiple issues. And the product life cycle, finance as results of 31st March 2020, revenue only 1 million, but loss is 10 million. Accumulated loss is 115 million. Net asset is 50 million minus. Current liabilities over current asset 30 million. Who will take this company and who will invest this company? This is nothing, no value at all. If I buy this company, I have to be paid 50 million. Otherwise, I can't. The net asset is 50 million mean what? Net asset is 50 million mean if I buy this company, somebody has to pay for me to buy that company by 50 million because I'm purchasing a 50 million minus negative company. Now what they're telling is the company has made a disclosure on the going concern issue of the financial statement. So let me to take you all through about the 1 minute on the going concern reporting requirement. So that must be remembered with you all. I'll get a space to write it that. Yes, yeah. You know, you might be knowing this one earlier. Now, going concern, there are 4 reporting requirements. Number 1, going concern assumption is appropriate. But material uncertainties are there which are adequately disclosed. So if there is a situation where going concern assumption is appropriate, but material uncertainties are there which are adequately disclosed, in that situation, we give an unmodified opinion plus additional paragraph. I hope that this you can remember. The second one is going concern assumption is appropriate, but material uncertainties are there which are not adequately disclosed. So in that situation, we give a qualified or adverse. Third situation, going concern assumption is inappropriate. Obviously, you give an adverse opinion. The fourth circumstances, management is not willing to. The management is not willing to extend its assessment. This is an examinable question. Definitely there will be exam question this time. Then you go for a qualified or disclaimer of opinion. Now you tell me, so the case scenario what we discussed, what is your opinion? What do you think? I will leave it to you. You can comment it. So what is your opinion? It may be, you can comment the 1, 2, 3, 4, at which category you are going to take in this scenario. Right. So listen to this one carefully now, right? Now, remember the company's going concern related reportings are excluded from the going concern related reportings are excluded from the normal audit reporting requirement. So that has to be remembered with you carefully, right? So you cannot mix this one. Somebody has commented, it is as a multiple uncertainty, therefore disclaimer of opinion should be given. Yes, here there are some multiple uncertainty. But here the fact is, understand this. Here the fact is, this is asking from the going concern perspective. If it is a multiple uncertainty circumstances in a general case, if it is not the going concern related matter specifically talking, then the multiple uncertainty disclaimer of will come. But now we have to look at, we have to close that other standard, we have to close from the going concern perspective. If you look at from the going concern perspective here, now they have a lot of issues. Declining, and you have about declining significantly, right? And then the bank borrowings are not allowing, bankings are refusing, and they can legal action, and industry is declining, adverse financial reporting. Number 6, there are all lot of uncertain material uncertainties. Right. There are material uncertainties. Now, when there are material uncertainties, what the management should do? Management should prepare an assessment. And if the management assessment with the mitigating factors, and if that is also happy by the client and it is already disclosed, then auditor can give a unmodified opinion plus additional paragraph. That's the normal circumstance. There are uncertainties, but then the management has to give a plan on what they are going to do on a management assessment. And if then the auditor also should agree with that, then if that has been properly disclosed, you can follow through the event number 1. But if you look at the scenario carefully, material uncertainties are there, yes. The company has made a disclosure on the going concern. Have they done any assessment? No. They have disclosed what? They have disclosed on the going concern issue. We don't mind. Like our Prime Minister these days. He tells that there is economic crisis in the country that everybody knows. What is needed? Solution. So now it is disclosed. It is disclosed mean issue, not the issue. We need the mitigating factors. Right? Then obviously, if this is not satisfied, this cannot be done. Right? If that cannot be done, mean obviously this is out. This is out. Right? And second one. If you are to assess the number 2, going concern assumption is appropriate. First of all, management should do an assessment. Management has not done an assessment. If the management has not done, so how you say going concern assumption is appropriate? You can't. Fourth one also not willing to, there is no management has not done assessment at all. So only applicable is going concern assumption is inappropriate. If you theoretically go by the steps of the theory also, your opinion will be an adverse opinion. That is one way of arguing the answer. The second one, you just forget about all other theory. Just imagine companies having such a big issues. Can this company prepare the finance on a going concern basis? Is there any reasonable ground for that? No. If they have prepared, can we give a qualified opinion? No, it's a one of the fundamental. Company is having a millions of issues. No one will take this company. Can you give a clean opinion? Can you give a modified opinion? Just forget about all other theory. If you go by that way also, you are going to. I know this is an arguable question. You will have a lot of questions. You can raise me soon after the session, or even any other platforms. So I am available, any social media or anywhere. So if you have any questions, you can raise to me. Right. We look at the answer given by the examiner. Right. The industry is at a declining stage. Over the past years, revenue had declining and there is no business plan. There is no business plan to ramp the company's operation. Financial of the company indicated significant events of a going concern. Material uncertainty. This indicates that there is a material uncertainty on the going concern of the company. The disclosure made in the finance is not sufficient given the matters described above. That is not sufficient. This requires a qualification of the audit report. Actually, not a qualification. Real wording should be modification, right? Modification. However, there is a pervasive impact on the finance statement. Therefore, require an audit to form an adverse opinion on the finance statement. Right, we come to the last question. Next question. And part B, the required part is assess the key audit matters. Assess the key audit matters. This is a new question actually. It has never been tested. Key audit matters, the auditor shall consider to include in the auditor's report. Assess the key audit matters. The auditor shall consider to include the auditor's report of the speed for the year ended 31st March 2021 by providing the rationale for your answer. So whether can this be considered as a CAM or not? Actually, this is a first time of a CL1 examination of a mock paper with a real exam. This has never been tested. Up to now, the CAM was there, the definition and all that, but there was not the fact given to you to justify whether this is a CAM or not, was never been tested. So therefore, this is a possible examination questions. Possible, I can't predict, but this is a possible one. Now, you know, if it is a key audit matter, the one of the fundamental, if it is to be a key audit matter, you know, there are three things to be satisfied. What is that? It has to be a significant risk. Right? Or it may be a significant management judgment or the significant event. Right? So out of that, in auditor's judgment, auditor can, out of the matters which auditor believes that is to be communicated, can be treated as a key audit matter. Right. So you are the auditor of Speed Automobile PLC. Remember that this is a PLC. Therefore, CAMs will come. For the year ended 31st March 2022, Speed is authorized dealer of importing and trading of a Japanese motor vehicles. That is a Japanese motor vehicle brand. It also involves in importing other vehicles. So they are a motor vehicle importing company. Nowadays, they are severely impacted because of the economy down and the foreign exchange crisis. Performance material level is 55 million. This is a critical information for this case. So we look at the plus point now. Now we have to decide whether this plus point, can it be a CAM or not. After COVID-19 outbreak, the importation of motor vehicles were restricted. Importation of motor vehicles were restricted by the government of Sri Lanka, and this slowed down the business operation. The management has made alternative business plans and implemented those to ensure business continuity. This cash flow forecast have been prepared by the management based on certain assumption. The auditors have stated these cash flows and disclosure made in the finance statement and concluded that the management has considered the business impact imposed by the current restrictions are sufficient. Cash flows are generated to be continuing the business for next 12 months from the balance sheet date. Tell me direct answer. Can this be treated as a CAM or not? What do you think? Others, what do you think? Energetic people. It started at 6:30, now 9:38. 3 hours and 10 minutes have gone. Still the energy is there with you. Energetic students. Never giving up students. Tell me, what do you think? Can this be problem? This restriction on importation. Restrictions on importation. Can this be a key audit matter? Because if it is to become a key audit matter, there are three qualifications: significant risk, significant management judgment, and significant event. That is something to learn to you all, right? That's an interesting story to learn. Right. See, now look at, listen to this one carefully, right? So now there is an incident happen. There is an incident happen. Incident is what? There is an incident of restriction of importation, right? So this event, the restriction of importation has resulted a going concern issue of the company, right? And then the company has prepared the management assessment and so accordingly going concern assumption is appropriate. If the going concern assumption is appropriate, if something relevant to going concern cannot be kept. Sorry. Now, if anything which we are talking about the going concern, something which cannot come as a CAM. If you go to the study text, it's very clearly given in the study text also. Something which we talk about the key audit matters, we are not related to the going concern problem. Going concern problem will have to be addressed through the SLAS 470 going concern standard reporting requirements. Therefore, if this restrictions of importation issue, if you look at from the going concern angle, this cannot be a CAM. Right. But let's say we went through this road, going concern, management assessment is appropriate, but cannot be a CAM. And it is appropriate, an auditor decides no additional paragraph is needed. Right. So that means going concern reporting requirement, there is no going concern problem. There is no going concern problem. There is no going concern problem. Therefore, going concern reporting will not be applicable here. If that is the case, this come here. This is a significant event. Importation restriction, significant event. As far as this is a significant risk. Always also, when you prepare the cash flow, significant management judgments are there. If the auditor does not consider to be dealt this matter under the going concern, if you are satisfied with the going concern, then there is no another going concern, you can't, there is no CAM, it cannot come. But if you look at from the not the going concern angle, This will become a CAM. You understand? Here, event is not the going concern. Event is importation of motor vehicles were restricted. If such event can be looked at into the two angles, one is going concern, one is other angle, other aspect. If you look at the going concern angle, you cannot put as a CAM. If you go in other angle, you can put. So therefore, now you are thinking, can I put the CAM and can I put the going concern both? No, you can't. If you cannot put if it is not applicable in a going concern only, CAM will come. Little tricky question, little practical question, not little, actually severely practical question. Even when I read this question first time, I was thinking, okay, which road to be taken? Right. So therefore, I'm not expecting for you all to answer into that level, but what I expected from you. So this should have been identified. If it is something related to going concern, it cannot be a CAM. That has to be remembered. If I just show you that is in the study text, it's very clearly given, right? So it has to be with you all. Going concern matters are dealt separately. It cannot be it is very clearly given here, cannot be dealt under the normal circumstances. Right. See, this paragraph in the page number 467. You read this paragraph. SL 701 also make a special attention of going concern problem, which we have covered previously, where there is a material uncertainty in relation to going concern. This is described in the material uncertainty related to going concern section. Going concern issue should not be included as a CAM. Right. We have done now. Just look at the answer for that question. Right. This is a significant event and it has an impact on the business continuity. Further judgment is involved in the preparing the cash flow forecast. The auditors to apply judgment in validating the assumption used. Further, the management has made an adequate disclosure. Therefore, given the circumstances, this appears to be a key focus area of the auditor. Therefore, this is to be reported as a CAM. CAM if the auditor concludes that there is no material uncertainty under the going concern. If this particular matter is taken under the consideration of going concern, it should not be a CAM. Right, so we'll go to the next one quickly. That is difficult, but don't get upset. Those one or two difficult will come. That is why generally price winners are not there for auditing paper. And generally even the price winner is there. No, the marks are going at 70, 71. Auditing is like that. But not difficult to get through the exam if you really work. Then speed ons land and building which are leased out to earn lease rental. These innocent properties are stated at fair value and the balance at the balance sheet date amounted to rupees 350 million. Right. And during the year, valuation has been determined by external valuer. The engagement team has considered the competencies and objectivities of the valuer and tested the assumption and judgment used in the value of the innocent properties of the balance sheet. Whether this is a CAM? Yes. Why? There is a significant management judgment. Significant management judgments are involved in the fair valuation. And also this can be treated as a significant risk also. Therefore, this is a CAM. And also this is material. 350 million out of 55 million are material level, performance material level. The speed invested in a subsidiary and consolidated finance statements are prepared by the management. The carrying value of the subsidiary is at the balance sheet in amount of rupees 106 million. The subsidiary has made a net loss of continuous 3 years and negative net asset position recorded at the balance sheet date. The management has, however, not carried out an impairment assessment of the subsidiary at the balance sheet date. No impairment. The auditors are unable to determine whether an impairment provision is required in respect to the carrying value of the subsidiary. There is 106 million. Our material level is 55 million. It is an above the material level. So there is a scope limitation where you have not received the impairment calculation. Can this be put as a CAM? No. Why? This is a material where you need to give a qualified opinion. There are modified audit opinion. When there are qualified audit opinion, the key audit matters cannot come. Key audit matter is not a substitute for a audit modification. Come to the last point. The auditor has, this is an again, first these two are easy actually. Second and third one easy, but this is again important one. The auditor has considered there is a risk of fraud in revenue recognition and cutoff and occurrence have been identified as the significant assertion. The auditor has tested the control and performed detailed audit procedures to address the significant risk identified. The auditor concluded that the revenue for the year ended 31st March 2021 not materially misstated. So revenue recognition. Now, our issue. Right, tell me again the revenue, this answer, whether revenue can be a CAM or not. This point again important. What do you think? You have to say CAM or not. At the exam, you can't say Bhagya CAM, half CAM and half not CAM. No, this is not a CAM. You know why? Yes, it is a significant risk. Auditor has to apply the professional judgment because this is yes, it is a significant risk. Just because of being a significant risk, that means all the risks that you identified in the audit, all are CAM. Then you can carry a 50 pages CAM in the audit report. Why? In audit, you see of millions of thousands of risk. In audit report, you can carry all the risk assessment. So that is not correct. Just because of revenue recognition is a significant risk, that doesn't qualify the requirement of the key audit matters because auditor's professional judgment will be applicable and auditor has to feel that this is something a key audit matter even out of the significant risk that you recognize. I want to show you another step. Just because of a significant risk, that doesn't mean it's scam. It's auditor has to feel it that is as a key audit matter. This is the importation of a vehicle. Revenue has come down. And it's a very straightforward revenue. It's not a complicated of revenue. If you are talking about the revenue recognition of, let's say, in a software industry or revenue recognition of a power generating companies, I would say this is a risk because the nature is so complex. But if the importation of a vehicle, what is the revenue recognition? You get the vehicle and sold, get the money, risk and reward transfer, just recognize the revenue. So therefore, it is not a complex business nature. So just that, therefore, it cannot be taken as a CAM. It's a practical question. First bullet point and the last bullet point is difficult for you because it was something beyond the normal auditing knowledge. Right. So if you look at the answers, first one we read, the second one, fair value of innocent property. The innocent property is material to the finance statement. Determination of fair value involves the estimates of judgment. Therefore, auditor needs to validate the assumption made and the data used in the determining fair value. Hence, it is a key focused area or key audit matter. Impairment of investment in the subsidiary. The investment in subsidiary is material to the finance statement. There is a scope limitation to the auditors as the management has not carried out an impairment assessment despite the indication of going concern. Therefore, this would result in a qualified audit opinion, not a CAM. If a modified opinion is expressed, the matter that gives rise to modified opinion will be described as the basis for qualified opinion. The last one, fraud in revenue recognition. Although this is a significant risk identified by the auditor, considering the company's operation, there are no complexities involved in the revenue recognition. Therefore, auditor may not consider this as a CAM. Right. So practical auditing is over. Now we are coming to the last question of the paper after incurring almost 3.5 hours. Serena Private Limited Board of Directors plan to establish an internal audit division. That is from the chapter 20. And it should be headed by a qualified chartered accountant with sufficient experience. It expects that it will function independently and will enhance the control environment of the company. The directors wish to know what indicators that the internal audit division exhibit for managing the function of the internal audit division. Well, required advise the board of directors the features of the internal audit division. What are the features of the internal audit division should exhibit to the confirm effective management of its function? What are the features that should be there in an internal audit division to function effectively? It's a copy paste from the study text. Chapter number 20, I know it is a little larger content, but obviously there will be a 5 marks because 5% the weightage is there. And if you can think and write this, or you can exactly copy, if you can remember from the study text, you can write it. So features of internal audit division, what? There should be a scope. There should be an objective. There should be a scope or objective for the internal audit division. If you don't have that, you cannot do. There should be a reporting hierarchy in a proper way. If that is not there, that is also always there should be a policies and the procedures of how the internal audit division should run. And there should be a process to deal with the external auditors. Right? So likewise, so if I just show you the study text directly, if you go to the page number 636 of the volume 2, 636. I don't know. I'm coming to the exact to the page. How it is coming, I don't know. 636 is the page. And if you read this one, see. Management of internal audit. The chief internal auditor should manage the internal audit department promptly. If the department is running well, it should have the following features: state the purpose, authority, responsibility, thorough planning, written policies, program for personal development, coordination with external auditors, quality assurance system. So those are the answers which is given by the examiner as well. Right. With that, we conclude exactly on time. So exactly on time. I told you about 3.5 hours it will take. So we started at the 6:35 or around 6:30, and we are finishing exactly by 10 o'clock. I just want to pass few messages, and I want to give some time to ask the questions as well. So if you look at this paper, except the question number 7, the chem and the going concern, all others are general question which anybody can answer from the syllabus. Those are also syllabus, but there is a areas where you have not touched through the normal questions. That is a good question for you to think beyond the boundaries in practical auditing. And I used to say that, and this is strongly I tell that to face the CL1 examination paper, you don't have to be an auditor. You don't have to be an audit trainee. It's not required, right? It's not a requirement. Just because of going in an audit firm, that doesn't mean that you get through the auditing paper, because there are so many in the audit firm, they have not yet passed. So therefore, going for an audit firm or not is not a significant matter or significant factor to decide whether you success or fail. It all depends on how far you understand this subject in a more logical manner, and how far you apply that knowledge with the questions, examination mood questions, and how far you put your commitment to look at the study material that is studied. And if you do these 3 things, there is no doubt about your success. You will definitely get through the examination, right? And that is my overall comment of this paper. Rest over to you before winding up the session. If you have any question, you can raise now. Any questions are welcome. So anything is, I'm going to answer now. Looks like no questions. All are very clear. surcharge tax is not a liability, because the fact is that is basically it is enacted in after the year end. So that's how you can see a lot of annual reports are being published now. A lot of annual reports are being published by as of now. You can see it as a disclosure. Is there any changes to the digital business chapter? Actually, that is not a digital business chapter. This is under the digital auditing in a digital environment. So there is no change to the study text content with compared to the previous examination, that means original examination. But there are changes to the way of now. For example, if you start from 2020 exam till today, the way of examination questions are developed, it goes into the deep. At the initial, it was in a small way. Now it is come to the deep questions. So therefore, if you are a repeat student, if you are studying the digital auditing in a halfway through in the last exam, now you have to work little hard and learn more. What we have learned for the previous exam for the digital auditing is not enough. So the examiner is going into the deep application of especially data analytics in the digital auditing chapter. So therefore, you are required to do, even though there are no changes to the content, you are supposed to look at in detail. So no questions, right? Energetic students, so energetic minds. We maintain the energy for the entire 3.5 hours. I maintain, I hope that you also concentrated within 3.5 hours in a continuous basis. That shows that our hard works and commitment, that you put will definitely give the results one day, right? Answer 7A, why answer not disclaimer of opinion? So again, I explain you that when you should have a reason to say that why disclaimer. Now there are two roads to go. I told you, going concern road and normal road. You can't keep in the going concern and go in the normal road. It's not possible. Right? You keep in the normal going concern problem, you cannot apply the normal road. Multiple uncertainties coming under the normal road. So therefore, you have to deal under the going concern. And the going concern, the disclaimer of opinion will come only on one circumstances where management is not willing to extend the assessment. So therefore, disclaimer may not come. So if you follow through the going concern, it will be adverse opinion. You can't go in both the road at the same time. Right. So what is the other question? Answering question 7B. 7B is actually a very good question. Yeah, this type of exam question, I mean, you have never practiced earlier. So the examiner has touched upon those things. But only thing is, don't get discouraged by looking at your marks of this. You have 1.5 months to go. So you can do wonders in this 1.5 months, and you can get ready with the focus approach. And you can see now all the past papers, properly look at the past papers. Past papers are purely practical. So you have to get practice those questions. Practicing question, 50% devoting time for writing questions is the only success factor to get through the auditing paper. Question number point B, discussing only CAM, and it is required to be further elaborate if needed. Assess your key audit matters. The question says, assess the key audit matters the auditor shall consider to include in the auditor's report for providing rationale. So therefore, only analyzing, it is only analyzing for key audit matters. If the examiner is not asking you to analyze the reporting impact, right? It's whether you have to say that it is a CAM or not. So you don't have to go and further elaborate. So why, if it is not CAM only, you tell the reason as to why you not consider as a CAM. Right. Looks like no other questions. So let's wind up with the more energetic way. Exactly 10 o'clock. And thank you very much for listening to my voice for about 3.5 hours in a continuous basis. And it may have been difficult to you, but I'm sure that you would have got a real outcome from this. And the effort that the CA Sri Lanka took to have the mock exam, and also the effort that the CA Sri Lanka took to invite me on to do this examination paper and sharing a lot of thoughts, and we were able to deliver of certain level of outcome. I hope that it was benefited, and I wish all of you to get through the examination this time somehow. And I'm also, if you need any my assistance, any support from me, so I'm ready to help. If you have any question with regard to this, so you can raise to me. And so I'm in all these platforms and everywhere. You can catch me in all social media and all that. So you can direct to me. So I will be able to answer. If I can help, definitely I will help you. And don't give up the exam, and we'll keep this momentum and face to the examination by July 24th. And you will definitely get through this time. And then in this economic crisis, we don't have any other solution. Somehow we have to come out from this examination, right? Thank you very much. Good night.